subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
The golden false fire in his hand had already appeared on Bai Xing's body at some point, making him unable to move. As long as he moved, he would be burned into a pile of fly ash by the fake fire. Bai Xing, after today, you will never have a chance to break through the golden core stage. The ink mark stopped in front of Bai Xing, and he didn't rush to punch him. Instead, he reminded him with some kind of kindness. When the words fell, the ink mark was not an emoji, but directly hit Bai Xing's abdomen with a punch. The location was actually on the edge of Dantian. Bai Xing finally understood the meaning of the ink words. This is about to ruin the side of his Dantian, the place where the golden core is condensed. If he is really hit by him, I am afraid that, as the ink says, there is no hope for promotion to the golden core in this life. At the thought of this, Bai Xing's face suddenly became extremely pale. What are you doing with ink? Do you not be afraid of the Hall of Law Enforcement by doing this? Little man, stop it. Upon seeing this, some of the core disciples under the ring suddenly became angry. But because of the fact that the ring has opened up the protection formation with their cultivation base, they can't get in at all. When Mo Ran saw this, a smile suddenly appeared on his face, and his mood was very good. It's been a week, and Yi Hongchen hasn't come yet. It seems that his life should have been lost to Huang Quan. Today, he's going to step by step against Yi Hongchen's core disciples, one after another. Finally, clean up that martial idiot Yiling Yun. As soon as he thought of this, Mo Ran's smile became more obvious. After a month, he finally laughed sincerely today. Just as Bai Xing closed his eyes and waited for the turning point in his future fate, a gust of wind swept through his body suddenly, causing him to open his eyes. At the next moment, what caught the eye was a young man dressed as a core disciple. He actually held the big fist of the ink with one palm. I said, you didn't put this young palace master in your eyes by doing this, or you didn't put Jiuechen Palace in your eyes. Yi Hongchen stood on the ring, blocking the ink fist with a palm, and the blue eyes were full of coldness. But the original grin of the ink has disappeared, replaced by a panic of fear. The ink-grown body trembled involuntarily. Needless to say, this young palace master understand. Without waiting for the ink marks to finish, Yi Hongchen directly loosened the ink marks and gently pushed forward. The upper half of the body, which was taller than Yi Hongchen, was actually pushed back by Yi Hongchen. Martial arts Dragon Fist. On Yi Hongchen's right fist, a bloody light suddenly appeared. Body skills, body as light as a swallow. With my feet moving, I was still in Bai Xing, and the Yi Hongchen in front of the two ink marks disappeared. When he reappears, he has already come to the ink. A fist hit hard on the 8-pack abs in the ink. Puff! The domineering, blood-colored spiritual power destroyed all the organs in the ink stain in an instant. Even the pubic area, it shattered at this moment. When the blood was spit out from the ink stain, Yi Hongchen came to Bai Xing without knowing when. Hold head high. In the next second, a dragon chant sounded within the body of the ink. The entire huge body of the ink mark fell slowly at this moment, motionless, as if it had lost its breath. Jing, up and down the ring, are all incomparably quiet, all looking at the handsome and extraordinary young man on the ring. Chapter 0043. You must be very clear, brother Yi, actually killed the ink stains? What can we do about this? A core female disciple who has an admiration for Yi Hongchen said worriedly. Although Bai Xing was okay, Yi Hongchen seemed to have caused trouble. So the core disciples who favored Yi Hongchen felt a heaviness in their hearts. Senior brother Yi, I'm sorry. Bai Xing naturally knew the seriousness of the matter and could not help lowering his head guiltily and said in a low voice, It's okay if I dare to kill him, then he is damned. Yi Hongchen smiled indifferently, without paying any attention to it. When Mo Ran saw Yi Hongchen on the ring, his expression was gloomy. He didn't even die. Yi Hongchen, you punished the brother of the same palace on the ring and did not sign the certificate of life and death. Did you not take the rules of the palace into consideration? Mo Ran slowly walked out of the crowd, his eyes full of mockery when he looked at Yi Hongchen. Although he didn't know how Yi Hongchen survived, but at this time he made such a low-level mistake, he would naturally not give up a chance. That's Yi Hongchen. Don't think you can mess around now if you have the name of the young palace master. Tell you, even if it is the young palace master, you can't help but take the rules seriously. Yi Hongchen, just wait for the sanction from the Hall of Law Enforcement. Night. Yi Hongchen's eyes were cold as he listened to these people chirping like people buying vegetables in a vegetable market. Palace Master is talking to Mo Ran. How old are you? How dare you interject? Speaking of the last, Yi Hongchen held the hilt of the sword in his waist with one hand and swung his sword out. A blue sword light passed through all the core disciples instantly. Buluin was talking, not talking, and his long hair was cut off by 1/10 by Yi Hongchen's sword. And those who talked seemed to have eaten shit for an instant, and they kept silent, and even their eyes didn't dare to look at Yi Hongchen. This is the first time they have seen Yi Hongchen pull out the sword for so long. In the past, the sword was pierced and taken with one sword, and the battle was over without even seeing the sword. After seeing everyone calm down, Yi Hongchen slowly put the long sword into the scabbard. First, the young palace lord naturally had the reason for the young palace lord to kill the ink marks. Second, if you dare to speak against the young palace master, isn't that also ignoring the rules of Juechen Palace? If the people from the Hall of Law Enforcement come, you will suffer first. Yi Hongchen stretched out 2 fingers. His expression was still very indifferent, and he couldn't see the slightest panic. Mo Ran under the ring has been staring at Yi Hongchen, even the look in his eyes when he speaks. But I didn't see Yi Hongchen ever panicking. It seemed that killing the ink stain was a reasonable way to deal with it. Yi Hongchen, since you said you had your reason for killing Ink Mark, you don't know what is the reason. Although Yi Hongchen's face did not change, Mo Ran did not give up, but continued to question. Yi Hongchen looked at Mo Ran tightly with a pair of star-like eyes and lifted his pale red lips. When the young palace master returned to the palace, he encountered an ambush. Surely junior brother Mo Ran must be very clear, right? As soon as Yi Hongchen said what he said, all the core disciples in the field were shocked. You know, what identity is Yi Hongchen? That's the young palace master, one of the 4 great forces. Even if the name is aside, the identity of palace master of the Palace of Great Chins already makes people feel terrified, and there are still people who dare to kill Yi Hongchen. Everyone looked at Mo Ran. Chapter 0044. Confrontation. Everyone turned their attention to Moran. I don't know why senior brother Yi said that senior brother understands, but senior brother really doesn't know, and I hope senior brother you will tell. Mo Ran directly ignored the gazes of others and looked at Yi Hongchen's eyes without any fear. Okay, this young palace lord is not selling off. On the way to reject the Dust Palace, this young palace lord encountered the Mo family in the Absolute Dust Palace ambush. However, because the main cultivation base of this young palace has been slightly improved, he reluctantly strengthened the danger and forced the behind-the-scenes leader. Yi Hongchen said, while taking out a green token from the storage ring. In the token, an ink character was engraved. All the core disciples in the field can recognize it, and that is the exclusive token of the Mo school. Mo Ran heard Yi Hongchen and the token in his hand. His feminine face suddenly became gloomy, extremely ugly. He said that the master behind the scenes is ink. It is him. Seeing this young palace master is unhappy. It may be because the young palace master lost his face a few days ago. Seeing Mo Ran's face, Yi Hongchen smiled secretly in his heart, and then the meaning of the words turned a corner. Upon hearing Yi Hongchen's words, Mo Ran's originally bowed head suddenly lifted, and a pair of Danfeng eyes looked straight at him. Yi Hongchen grabbed Bai Xing's shoulder directly and flew off the ring all at once, sweeping around at random, and all the people being swept lowered their heads. Don't dare to look at him. So, the young palace master killed this envoy. Junior brother Mo, do you have an opinion? Yi Hongchen looked at Mo Ran with a smile on his face. It seemed that he had eaten Mo Ran. Although Mo Ran was a little upset looking at Yi Hongchen's smile, she could only helplessly say, Senior brother Yi said, "It is extremely true. He is damned with ink stains." After speaking, Mo Ran flung his sleeves and left, as if staying like this. He couldn't help releasing the anger in his heart. Senior brother Yi, 1 month later, the second battle of the young palace master. I hope you can still keep the title of young palace master. Hearing Mo Ran's voice like the next battle book, Yi Hongchen's expression was relaxed, and he casually replied, "If you don't worry about me, my brother will easily keep it." After Mo Ran left, the core disciples who were still left in the arena immediately clasped their fists at him. "Brother Yi, no need to be polite. I will go back first." Yi Hongchen waved his hand slightly, not caring what had just happened. Originally wanted to trick Mo Ran into the ring with him. He was humiliating Mo Ran severely. Unfortunately, he saw that Bai Xing was in trouble as soon as he arrived, so he could only come to help. And when he missed his hand, he killed the ink. Dust Palace. Ahu's simple and honest man entered a different courtyard, where the birds and flowers fragrant, and there is a clear lake behind. Yi Hongchen was sitting in a small bamboo pavilion in the center of the lake for cultivating. 49 spiritual cyclones floated on the surface of the lake. The entire Dust Palace, even the aura around the Dust Palace, was attracted by this cyclone, but some impurity auras were picked out again and did not enter Yi Hongchen's body. The sun is really a genius. He can trigger more than a dozen cyclones in the congenital stage, and there are already 49 cyclones in the Jin Dan stage. Ahu looked at Yi Hongchen with admiration in his eyes, and felt more and more unpredictable for Yi Hongchen's cultivation. Although he himself was a master of the Yuan Dan realm, that is, the late Jin Dan stage, he couldn't see through Yi Hongchen. Call. When Ahu came in, Yi Hongchen had already sensed it and slowly stopped the exercise. "Ahu, is there something important?" Chapter 0045. Meet the Cheap Father. What's the important thing? As soon as Yi Hongchen stopped the Shura evil Qigong, the 49 spiritual energy vortex suddenly dispersed. The entire courtyard immediately recovered as before, and new auras also poured into the Dust Palace from outside. But Yi Hongchen faintly felt that the cultivation base that had just broken through to the Golden Core stage was loosened, and it seemed that it was not very far away to break through to the pill-holding stage. "My son, the Patriarch asked you to visit the main palace. It seems that there is something important." Ahu knelt down on one knee towards Yi Hongchen and said respectfully with his fists, "Yeah." Yi Hongchen nodded slightly, walked out of the courtyard, and stopped when he reached the gate of the courtyard. Turning his head slowly, a pair of azure blue eyes stared at Ahu. "Oh, Ahu is here." Mo Ran dared to do tricks on the way my son returned to the palace. Didn't you notice? When Ahu heard this, a hint of panic suddenly appeared on Ahu's somewhat honest face, and he couldn't help but hurriedly said, "Going back to the sun, Ahu, is unfavorable, and you are frightened. Don't panic. You have been with me since I was young, so naturally I won't blame you. It's just that my son really can't swallow this breath. You say, what should I do?" Yi Hongchen waved his hand, narrowing her beautiful eyes. This loss, regardless of his previous life and this life, was the first time he had touched him. He was really upset. What was upset was that he didn't have the feeling of controlling the overall situation. "My son, Ahu can design to kill Mo Ran, so that he has no place to bury his body, and let the sun release his anger. Ahu is murderous. The son of his own family was ambushed and killed. He knew that the anger in Shur's heart was no less than Yi Hongchen, or even higher. It's just that he didn't find any clues to prove who did it. No, it is very difficult to kill Mo Ran in the palace of Juechen. Even if it can be killed, this son is the biggest suspicion." Yi Hongchen shook his head slightly and suddenly changed his conversation. "Didn't he have a sister?" "It is said that he respects her very much." The son said, "When my son comes back tonight, I want to see her in the Palace of Dust, and I can't let anyone know who did it." After Yi Hongchen finished speaking, he walked out without looking back and disappeared in front of Ahu's eyes in an instant. Don't look at Ahu's honesty and honesty. You think he's an honest person. Under his honest and honest appearance, there are a lot of careful thoughts. It can even be said that resourcefulness is just not enough in front of Yi Hongchen. So when Yi Hongchen said, Ahu's heart suddenly showed a detailed plan. My son, don't worry, Ahu. Replace the crime with merit. Juechen Palace, the main palace. The main palace is located at the highest peak of Juechen Mountain, with only one palace above it and nothing else. And above the main palace, apart from some guards and servants in the palace, there is only one person, the Lord of Juechen Palace, the patriarch of the Yi family, Yi Hongchen's cheap father, Yi Tianju in the Ningying realm in the mid-primary stage. I have seen the young palace master. Yi Hongchen had just come up, and several servants guarding the stairs saluted him. In the next second, Yi Hongchen had disappeared from their eyes, came to the main palace, and slowly opened the door. The palace is very large, but there is only one straight path in the main hall, and the red carpet spreads to the end, and there is a high platform. On the high platform, a golden dragon chair that looked like an emperor was placed there. At this moment, a middle-aged man was sitting on the dragon chair, playing with the gadgets in his hand. Yi Hongchen went straight to the bottom of the high platform, lowered his head slightly, and said in a deep voice, I don't know why the palace lord called Hongchen. Chapter 0046, Sublimation of Quality. I don't know what's the important thing about the palace lord calling Hongchen. Yi Hongchen lowered his head and said in a deep voice, although he was his cheap father in front of him, this person didn't care about him for memory reasons. From the time he remembered in his original body, it was strange to see him in 3 years. It could be said that this cheap father is not like his father at all. Moreover, the mother of the original body was said to have been beaten to death by Yi Tianjue's enemy, but the power of the Juechen Palace was so great that the original body did not believe this at all. Yi Hongchen, you are on the arena, ignoring the rules of the palace, and committing the crime of killing the same palace disciple again. Are you convicted? Yi Tianjue's face is extremely handsome, but different from Yi Hongchen's sword eyebrows and star eyes. His pair of peach eyes is also very consistent. Back to the palace lord, I don't think I'm guilty. He killed me beforehand. I killed him. It's normal. As the saying goes, a murderer is always killed. Yi Hongchen immediately raised his head when he heard the words, and a pair of azure blue eyes met Yi Tianjue's eyes without any panic. Snapped. Yi Tianjue slapped directly on the table in front of him. A strong pressure instantly pressed Yi Hongchen's body. Yes, yes, but you were in the palace, and you blatantly killed him. That's wrong. It's also wrong to let someone else catch the handle. Right after Yi Hongchen's words fell, Yi Tianjue stood up, and his tone improved. Yi Hongchen slowly closed his eyes and did not continue to speak. After all, it seemed that Yi Tianjue's appearance was still above her anger. If he talks back now, maybe you'll invite more excessive words. Okay, go down. I'll settle the inking issue for you too. Remember to pay more attention to everything in the future so that no one can get a handle on it. Seeing Yi Hongchen's silent appearance, Yi Tianjue couldn't help but wave his hand to indicate that Yi Hongchen could leave. After Yi Hongchen heard it, he didn't even bother to speak and walked out slowly. Hey, isn't my request too hard? How can anyone do it so perfectly when they are 16? Seeing Yi Hongchen's departure, Yi Tian couldn't help but hold his forehead and put on the table, thinking about what he said before. He asked Yi Hongchen to come, but he didn't want to teach him. He just reminded him that he must seek perfection in his work, and he must not leave any handles. It can be seen that Yi Hongchen's right attitude has caused an unknown fire in his heart. When Yi Hongchen walked down the steps of the mountain, he took a deep look at the main palace and then returned directly to the dust palace. At this moment, when the sky was just as the setting sun went down, the dim sunlight shone on Yi Hongchen's body, and a white light was reflected in his eyes. A drop of tears fell directly from the eye sockets without Yi Hongchen's control, causing Yi Hongchen to stop. Don't cry. He didn't treat you as a son, just as an excellent tool for use. Yi Hongchen murmured softly. There was no one around him. It seemed that he was talking to himself. After saying this, Yi Hongchen only felt his body lightened again. All the spirits are very comfortable, as if they have washed their marrow. This is a symbol of the original body leaving this body completely, and the tears just now also flowed out of the original body. Now Yi Hongchen only feels that his body is as light as a swallow, as if he has sublimated again. There is no limit. Thinking of this, Yi Hongchen moved his feet, and his whole body was like a piece of paper and immediately floated forward. Soon, the dust palace appeared in front of Yi Hongchen's eyes. The sun, the servant guarding in front of the dust palace, said with his hands. Chapter 0047. Swallowing a nasty breath, Yi Hongchen nodded slightly and asked, "Has Ahu come back?" "Back to the sun. Ahu has returned." Yi Hongchen walked directly into the dust palace and headed straight towards his bedroom. In front of the sleeping hall, the huge and honest Ahu stood outside. When he saw Yi Hongchen, he immediately clasped his fists and saluted. "I have seen the sun. What the sun has ordered, Ahu has already done it. Take it clean and leave no tails." Yi Hongchen said faintly, "My son, Ahu promises that he didn't leave any tails." Ahu said with great certainty, "By the way, tell me to go down. Let Imo Ran know the news that her sister Imo Jur was arrested in Mancheng. Remember, don't let him have any suspicions." After he was out of the palace, he immediately notified my son. "Yes." Yi Hongchen nodded and signaled Ahu to leave the side hall and go to rest. Entering the sleeping hall, Yi Hongchen saw a woman who was randomly thrown on the floor at a glance. The upper-class women are even more beautiful than Yun Qingshui and Yun Qingsu. After all, at the age of 23 or 4, mature women are always attractive, even if her features are not better than those of Yun Qingsu and Yun Qingyi. Yi Hongchen took a pot of tea straight away, walked to Mo Jio's side, and poured a pot of tea directly. Mo Jio, who had been in a coma, was spilt with tea, and a chill directly stimulated her to wake up. Subconsciously, she shouted directly, "Help! Is there anyone?" Because she vaguely remembered that on the way out of Juechen Palace, she was tied up by a person wearing black clothes and covering her face, and all her followers were killed. "Stop screaming. This is my son's territory. Even if you scream and break your throat, no one will come to rescue you." Yi Hongchen looked at Mo Jioer yelling in embarrassment and couldn't help beckoning. A chair suddenly slid over and sat beside her with Erlang's legs tilted. Mo Jioer immediately raised his eyes when he heard Yi Hongchen's voice. After seeing Yi Hongchen, he was taken aback. Yi Hongchen, the leader of the younger generation in Juechen Palace, is also the dream lover of the female disciple in the palace. "Yi Hongchen, what did you bring me here? Just let me go." Mo Jioer suddenly struggled a few times, but how could she break away from the spiritual cord of the middle grade of the earth based on her only initial cultivation base of the Qi Gang realm? Yi Hongchen looked at her quietly, did not speak or move. "Yi Hongchen, are you not afraid that my Mo family will have any conflict with your Yi family? Don't let me go, otherwise you will not be able to bear the consequences." Seeing that he couldn't escape, Mo Jioer looked viciously at Yi Hongchen and threatened. Yi Hongchen suddenly smiled when he heard the words, got out of the chair, squatted down slowly, and directly raised Mo Jio's chin with one hand. "Do you think your Mo family will know that it was me and Yi Hongchen caught you?" After Yi Hongchen's words fell, Mo Jioer's body couldn't help but trembled, and even his expression was a bit ugly. "You have to remember that it was your younger brother. The ink stained you. Don't blame this son on this point." After Yi Hongchen finished speaking, he directly slapped a palm on Mo Jioer's head, and the domineering blood-colored spiritual power instantly entered her heavenly spirit cover. The next moment, Mo Jioer's 7 orifices were bleeding. In Yi Hongchen's hand, a fiery red talisman paper appeared, randomly thrown in front of Mo Jioer. A fiery red flame instantly burned Mo Jioer's seductive body. "I don't know, is it perfect?" Chapter 0048. The 4 Great Tianjiao, I don't know, it's not perfect. Looking at the empty floor, Yi Hongchen suddenly remembered what Yi Tian said in the main palace. Shaking his head, Yi Hongchen went directly to the hot spring behind the dust palace and took a bath. Vertical sun. Yi Hongchen was still in Chun Palace's martial arts training ground, swordsmanship. Ahu walked over. "My son, the elder Hua from the outer door asks to see you." Yi Hongchen slowly put away the sword, took the towel from the maid's hand and randomly wiped off the sweat that didn't appear on his forehead. The elder from the outer door came to see this young man. Do you know why? I don't know. Then let him in. After Yi Hongchen handed the towel to the maid, he walked to the main hall of the inner palace. Not long after he was seated, an elderly man in his 50s walked in from the door. I have seen young palace master. After Elder Hua came to Yi Hongchen, he bowed his hand slightly and bowed. Yi Hongchen nodded slightly and said with some questions, I don't know if Elder Hua came to see this young palace master. What's the matter? Back to young palace master. This time the matter is somewhat important. Elder Hua looked at Yi Hongchen with admiration. But it doesn't matter. Yi Hongchen waved his hand. That's it. This year's top 10 outer sect disciples have been selected, and tomorrow I will go to Wolongyuan to experience one or two. It is also good for the people of the other 3 major forces to see the strength of the outer door of our Juechen Palace. So I want to ask the young master to be the leader of the team this time. Elder Hua didn't grind. He directly told the cause. When Yi Hongchen heard this, his brow furrowed and he was a little dissatisfied, but he didn't show it on his face. He wondered, but isn't the inner disciple leading the team? The young palace master doesn't know it. It was true in previous years, but this year it has changed. When Elder Hua said this, he sighed slightly and continued. The other 3 major forces have all dispatched a Tianjiao to lead the team, so I was helpless, so I found the young palace master. Hearing this, Yi Hongchen suddenly felt puzzled and then smiled slightly. It's okay, since the other 3 Tianjiao lead the team, then as one of the 4 Tianjiao, how can I not join the fun? Elder Hua, when will you leave tomorrow? After hearing that Yi Hongchen had also responded, the Elder Hua was overjoyed and hurriedly said, Go back to the young palace master. At noon tomorrow, 10 outer disciples will gather at the main entrance of Juechen Palace. Okay, at noon tomorrow, I will pass on time. Yi Hongchen nodded slightly. Then I will retire first. When Elder Hua saw that things went well, he smiled and said goodbye to Yi Hongchen. Then I won't send it. Yi Hongchen quietly watched Elder Hua retreat. The 4 great arrogances, dream farewell, Yi Hongchen, Huang Jinyan, Qiang Suang. It's interesting. Yi Hongchen murmured slightly. All 4 of them are the pinnacles of the late congenital stage, and now some of them may have entered the golden core stage. And Yi Hongchen is not bad at all. I'm afraid that the 4 of them will be gathered together. By the way, the 4 of them have never met. Most of them have only heard the reputation of the other party. After all, they are young, so the sect is naturally worried about this kind of genius running around. Otherwise, it is not unreasonable to be murdered by someone with a heart. Ahu is here. After hearing Yi Hongchen call his name, Ahu immediately walked in from the hall. Yi Hongchen looked at Ahu and asked with some uncertainty, You said earlier, where is Bai Linglinghua on the Spirit Fire list in Wolongyuan? Chapter 0049. Going to Wolongyuan, hearing Yi Hongchen's words, Ahu naturally wouldn't refuse and said directly, My son, Bai Linglinghua, once appeared in the southern part of Wolongyuan. I'm not sure where it is now. However, what Ahu could be sure of is that Bai Linglinghua must still be in Wolongyuan. Well, that's fine. Tomorrow I will take the top 10 outer disciples to Wolongyuan, and I will look for Bai Ling by then. My son, you said you're going to Wolongyuan? Do you want your subordinates to prepare for 1 or 2? Yi Hongchen waved his hand slightly and walked towards the backyard of the palace. No, you only need to help me pay attention to the movement of Mo Stain and the Mo family. Yes, son. From noon to night, Yi Hongchen was still cultivating and rejuvenating, trying to make a breakthrough when he went to Wolongyuan. It is a pity that although the bottleneck of the pill-holding realm was a little shaken, it was not broken by Yi Hongchen so quickly, which made Yi Hongchen sigh. Sure enough, did you take it too quickly? The next day, in addition to some of the Juechen Palace disciples and the merchants in the Juechen Mountain at the front entrance of the Juechen Palace, there are also 10 people wearing yellow gowns with black patterns embroidered on their shoulders. Oh, I said Elder Hua. When should we leave? It's almost noon. Among the 10, a young girl suddenly asked the Elder Hua who was standing in front of her with some impatientness. The girl looks ordinary, but she also belongs to the attractive type, and her body development completely exceeds that of the average person. Zhao Qingkai, since Elder Hua is waiting here, we naturally have to wait, and it's useless to remind you. The other girl standing behind Zhao Qingkai spread her hands, as if saying that what you just said was just nonsense. Although this girl is not as well developed as Zhao Qingkai in other aspects, her immature face is actually a little soft. It is conceivable that when she grows up, she will definitely be a big and slim beauty. Li Xianyue, I didn't ask you again. What are you doing for fun? Zhao Qingkai deliberately stood up quite fiercely, as if you were nosy. Okay, stop making trouble. Staying in the trouble will leave a bad impression on the senior brother who led the team. If you go to Wulangyuan, it may not matter to you anymore. Elder Hua complained when he saw that the only 2 female disciples among the 10 outer disciples were about to quarrel. When Elder Hua had spoken, Zhao Qingkai and Li Xianyue both snorted coldly. Upon seeing this, a cold-looking teenager shook his head slightly inside. Oh, woman, it's trouble. This young man was named Yun Laiji, and he was the number 1 master among the outer sect disciples and the number 1 person in the outer sect. No, Yin Laiji, what you said is too much. Isn't your mother, your grandmother, a woman? That is, don't think that you're strong enough to insult our women at will. Originally like Zhao Qingkai, who was fighting in the Cold War, Li Xianyue and Li Xianyue heard Yun Laiji's words, and they were like sisters who were very close to each other. After Yun Laiji heard what Li Xianyue and Zhao Qingkai said, the corners of his mouth twitched, and his cold face suddenly became embarrassed. The 7 outer disciples couldn't help but laugh in unison when they saw Yun Laiji deflated. What's so happy? Say it, so that the brothers can be happy. At this moment, a voice suddenly came from behind Elder Hua and the 10 outer disciples. When the 11 people heard the words, all of them subconsciously looked behind them, and the next moment, all of them were stunned. Chapter 0050. Changing faces quickly when they looked at it, all of them couldn't help but be stunned. The visitor looked 18 years old, with a handsome face, but he felt handsome and extraordinary. Short eyebrows and star eyes. The pupils of the eyes are still blue, as dazzling as stars. A long gown that is better than a flying snow, about 1.78 meters tall, with a white long sword hanging from his waist, and a long black hair bound by a white jade hair crown. It seems that they can't pick out a single flaw, which makes them feel frustrated. The core disciple of Juchen Hong, the leader of the younger generation, the young master of Juechen Palace, one of the 4 great arrogances of the East Continent, Yi Hongchen. I have seen young palace master. Elder Hua also saw Hongchen overnight, so after a brief loss of consciousness, he couldn't help but bow his hands towards Yi Hongchen. Hearing Elder Hua's words, the 10 outer disciples immediately recovered, and all walked toward Yi Hongchen and said, I have seen the young palace master. Yi Hongchen waved his hand and groaned with a smile. You don't need to be polite. You can just call me senior brother Yi, so as not to get any points. The young palace master, I will teach you the top 10 of these 10 outer sects, and you must bring them back safely. After Yi Hongchen nodded slightly, Elder Hua quickly returned to Juechen Palace without any hesitation. After all, it was handed over to Yi Hongchen. Can he not rest assured? You know, he is only in the late congenital stage, and he hasn't even reached the peak. Okay, you must have been waiting for a long time. I'm really sorry. Yi Hongchen said to the top 10 disciples of the outer sect, and beckoned to Ahu behind him. Ahu immediately walked out from behind Yi Hongchen, still holding a bag in his hand, the royal beast bag. As the name suggests, it is a bag used to hold monsters. Of course, you can only hold monsters that have been tamed, otherwise the monsters will come out again as soon as they resist. It's okay, Brother Yi. It doesn't matter if I wait for a day. Zhao Qingkai immediately squeezed her hands when she heard Yi Hongchen's words and said shyly. Hearing Zhao Qingkai's words, the other 9 outer disciples, including the previously Xianyue, had goosebumps in their hearts. I don't know who said that I was impatient first, but now that people come, my face has become so fast. Yi Hongchen just smiled when he heard the words, did not speak, and waited for a huge black eagle beast to come out of the imperial beast bag in Ahu's hand and directly put on the back of the black eagle in the sky. Nighthawk, looking at its size, there should be a cultivation base in the heavenly Geng realm, right? Big Brother is worthy of being a big brother. Any luck is a Nighthawk. This flying monster can be ranked in the top 20 monsters. As soon as they saw this black eagle, the few outside disciples of the poor family underneath suddenly became envious. Hongchen didn't look down upon them when he heard them. He was still relaxed and indifferent. This is the advantage of being a villain, right? You don't need to do it by yourself, and you're busy. Shaking his head, Hongchen shouted at the 10 people below, "Come on, we should set off." Upon hearing this, the 10 top 10 disciples from the outer sect hurriedly jumped on the back of Nighthawk. After everyone came up, Nighthawk suddenly yelled and flew towards the outside of the palace. 3 hours later, a mountain range like a dragon coiling above the open space suddenly appeared in Hongchen's line of sight. The sky over there was densely covered with dark clouds, as if it could rain down in thunder at any time. Inside the mountains, the white haze was heavy. Even Hongchen couldn't see the whole picture inside. Was there a roar of monsters? Here we are, Wu Longyuan. Chapter 0051. Finding spiritual fire alone, here we are, Wu Longyuan. After Hongchen saw the mountains in front of him, his eyes condensed slightly, and the expression on his face suddenly became serious. Although in Wu Longyuan, the monster beasts of the Yuan-Ing stage were cleaned up by the 4 giant forces, but the Jin Dan stage was not cleared. Therefore, the risk is still very high for the outside disciples of these 4 giants, even the Smile of Life. This is also the training method of the 4 giant forces. Anyone who can survive in Wu Longyuan can enter the inner door, and all have gone through the blood ceremony. As for the dead disciples, no one is pitiful. After all, they can only be blamed for their lack of strength. You brothers and sisters, Wu Longyuan is in front of you. According to the rules of the palace, let you sneak into the center of Wu Longyuan and seize a token from one of the other forces. Hongchen turned around, looked at the 10 outer disciples headed by Yun Laiji, and said, "The other party's forces?" Yun Laiji said in a puzzled way, "Because of the strict rules in the palace, only the senior brother who led the team could tell this kind of information after they came to Wu Longyuan, so they didn't know. Hey, we are disciples of Juechen Palace. We're the top 10 of the outer sect. In the end, we have to lead the team with our big brother. What are we afraid of?" While talking, Zhao Qingkai came directly to Hongchen's side and said to the others. Hongchen just smiled when he heard the words, did not speak, and took out a silver token from the storage ring. "This is the experience token of our Juechen Palace. Don't lose or be robbed in Wu Longyuan. Otherwise, half of the people will be eliminated." Hongchen handed the white token to Yun Laiji while explaining. "Moreover, there are monsters in Wu Longyuan, but beware of people. Monsters are not so terrible. Talents are." After speaking, Hongchen directly let Nighthawk fly down and came to the only entrance in Wu Longyuan from the east. At the entrance, there was a group of warriors wearing heavy black armor, and the aura on all of them was very solemn. After seeing Hongchen coming down, a middle-aged man walked out. "I have seen the young palace master." Obviously, they all knew who led the team early. After Hongchen nodded slightly, he walked into Wu Longyuan with 10 curious outer disciples. "This is for you. If you encounter any difficulties, just crush it and I will come to you." As soon as he entered Wu Longyuan, Hongchen directly took out a golden talisman paper and handed it to Yun Laiji. When Zhao Qingkai on the side heard Hongchen's words, her eyes lit up the talisman in Hongchen's hand for the night, and she said, "Big brother, let me put such precious things here." "It's okay. It's the same in everyone's hands anyway." Hongchen smiled lightly. When the words fell, a faint blue light appeared on Hongchen's body, and the next moment, the whole person suddenly disappeared in front of the 10 outer disciples. Ah, big brother deserves to be a big brother. Even if he leaves, he is so handsome. Zhao Qingkai held the golden rune paper tightly in both hands and said in admiration, "Hey, why you a nympho again? It's really shameful." Li Xianyue couldn't help but bury her when she saw Zhao Qingkai's appearance. "You come in from here to the east, and there is the south. Go to the south first. Maybe you are lucky enough to meet Bai Ling's cold fire." Yi Hongchen's figure is very light, flying around on the tree, without a leaf sticking to her body and flying towards the south. This breath, the peak of the late congenital stage. Chapter 0052. Raksha Girl Qiangswang. This breath is the peak of the late congenital stage. After flying several hundred meters south, Yi Hongchen suddenly felt a wave of cultivation base in front of him. After locking the direction, he swept towards that location. A warrior who dare not cause trouble is not a good warrior. In a forest clearing, a woman dressed in white is holding a long sword and is fighting with a demon tiger. Every time the woman pierced her sword, the white light on her sword became more prosperous, and the more she fought, the more braver she was. On the other hand, the demon tiger, after evading the woman with one sword after another, was crushed to death, as if it had changed from a tiger to an old cat. Standing on a big branch, Yi Hongchen couldn't help frowning as he watched the fluctuations of the person and the beast. That woman was no more than the pinnacle of an innate late stage, and that demon tiger was a pill formation, the proper Jindan early stage. But because of this strength gap, the woman was able to completely suppress the demon tiger. One can imagine how powerful her combat power is. It seems that it should be one of the four great forces, the woman, not the dream farewell of the Tianxian Pavilion, but the Qiangswang of the Raksha Gate. While Yi Hongchen was observing, the battle between that woman and the pill formation realm demon tiger was also coming to an end, because the woman had forced the demon tiger under a towering tree surrounded by tree roots. With the demon tiger's body shape, she couldn't penetrate the tiny gap at all. It's over, Raksha, sword intent. Sure enough, after Yaohu was forced into that place, the woman's offensive stopped suddenly, and her long sword was in front of her. Ho-ho-ho. In the next moment, the white light that was originally on the blade suddenly flourished. A horrible sword intent burst out from the woman. Different from Yi Hongchen's killing intent, her sword intent is extremely cold. It seems that it is a disregard for human life and life. Raksha, sword intent. Raksha girl, Qian Shuiying. After hearing the woman's voice, Yi Hongchen suddenly understood the woman's identity. One of the four great arrogances, the most bloodthirsty Qian Shuiying, titled Raksha girl. After Qian Shuiying's words fell, a white light that looked extremely holy suddenly shrouded the demon tiger's body. The demon tiger actually seemed to be frozen, motionless. Only a pair of eyes were moving. The next moment, a white sword light crossed Yaohu's neck, and Yaohu's head immediately moved. And Qian Shuiying put away the long sword and walked towards Yaohu's head. At the center of the beast's eyebrows, there's a certain chance that a demon core will condense. The demon core is like a golden core, which can store their power and cultivation. As long as there is the cooperation of the secret technique, the demon power in the demon core can be absorbed, but the demon power is generally more violent, and most people dare not try it easily. When Qian Shuiying was about to walk to the head of the demon tiger, Yi Hongchen knew that he had to show up. Suddenly, his hands stretched out slowly, and his toes lightly touched the branches. The whole person is like a paraglider, gliding down from the tree with great grace. Stop! Before anyone arrived, Yi Hongchen spoke first. After Qian Shuiying suddenly heard Yi Hongchen's voice, she immediately grabbed the long sword subconsciously and looked around vigilantly. Call! The next moment, a gust of wind came from above her head, and years of combat experience told her that someone was attacking from above. On the long sword, white light emerged and quickly slid over his head. A white sword aura flew towards Yi Hongchen suddenly and quickly. Yi Hongchen's feet moved again. After the descending figure was hit by the sword key, the Yi Hongchen suddenly disappeared, causing Qian Shuiying's eyes to shrink. It turned out to be an afterimage. Chapter 0053. Another world version of Bidong. It turned out to be an afterimage. Yi Hongchen had already come behind her in that second of Qiangsu Ing Lungshun. A sword flew the hair crown bound to her hair and moved again when Qian Shuiying stabbed her with another sword. Suddenly, he came to the top of Qian Shuiying again, held the golden hair crown with one hand, and fell in front of Qian Shuiying, with his back facing her. Well, this hair crown seems pretty good. The treasure is for beauty, but it's not bad. Yi Hongchen played with the golden hair crown on his hand, and was amazed at the same time, but the long sword, but did not know when, was put into the scabbard by him again. Who are you? Qian Shuiying's hair was not bound by the tiara, and it was scattered behind her. Her black eyes were a little curious. Me? Yi Hongchen said with a slight self-deprecating tone, turning around slowly, looking at Qian Shuiying's face and sighing. It's just a person who is used as a tool. Hearing Yi Hongchen's words, even Qian Shuiying, who is also one of the four great arrogances, couldn't help being stunned. The same white clothes, red lines on his shoulders, a handsome face, sword eyebrows and star eyes. Such a fairy-like man. Is he sighing? Which one of the four forces are you? Yi Hongchen or Huang Jingyan? Qian Shuiying asked with curiosity flooding her heart. Call. In the next moment, Yi Hongchen appeared directly in front of Qian Shuiying like a ghost. Give it back to you. After all, giving the treasure to the beauties does not insult this treasure. Yi Hongchen's tone seemed to sigh. One hand naturally held Qian Shuiying's long hair, and the other hand directly put a crown on her. Coupled with the reason why Yi Hongchen is half a head taller than Qian Shuiying, it actually seems to be like a close couple. After Yi Hongchen finished all this, Qian Shuiying realized that she didn't even know Yi Hongchen. What a courage! How dare you be disrespectful to me? Qian Shuiying couldn't help but feel a sense of shame in her heart. She was touched her hair by a man she had always looked down on, and asked him to wear a hair crown for her. Thinking of this, he stabbed Yi Hongchen with a sword into anger. Raksha sword intent. One shot, it turned out to be Jinni. A burst of white light appeared on Yi Hongchen's body, and Yi Hongchen felt that everything around him was completely sealed off. It's a pity that he just used the spiritual power that he had spent in the blood pill in his body to break free of this restraint. Light as a swallow. When the long sword was about to pierce Yi Hongchen suddenly came in an arc and swept behind Qian Shuiying. Boom, boom, boom. Because of Yi Hongchen's avoidance, Qian Shuiying's sword immediately hit the big trees in front of him in the air. At the same time, Yi Hongchen had already arrived behind Qian Shuiying, and when she cut several big trees with a single sword, she held her arm with one hand. Thrown fiercely under the big tree behind him, Qian Shuiying couldn't resist Yi Hongchen's strength at all, and her entire body slammed directly under the tree. The green leaves on the tree were hit by the impact, and dozens of green leaves were knocked down. Before Qian Shuiying used her body skills to leave, her hand holding the long sword was directly held by Yi Hongchen with one hand, lifted to the range of her ears, and pressed against the big tree. Yi Hongchen quickly lifted Qian Shuiying's chin with his other hand, and his azure blue eyes immediately met Qian Shuiying's eyes, and there seemed to be a flash of lightning between the two. In the next second, Yi Hongchen did not hesitate, leaned down and kissed Qian Shuiying's red lips. Chapter 0054. The true strength of the Raksha girl. Feeling the softness of her mouth, Qian Shuiying's eyes opened wide, and she couldn't believe that she would be kissed by a stranger. Yi Hongchen didn't go too far. When Qian Shuiying kicked between her legs, she quickly moved away from Qian Shuiying. I want to kill you. Qian Shuiying's mind was full of the kiss from Yi Hongchen just now, and her heart was completely filled with killing intent. Yi Hongchen just stood still. A cold light flashed into his eyes. Is a sword light? Good coming. Looking at Qian Shuiying, who was quickly pierced by a sword, Yi Hongchen held the sword hilt in her waist with one hand. The essence of sultry sister aroused the curiosity of the other party, and was embarrassing the other party, and she remembered it deeply in her mind. The last step, and also a very critical step, is to defeat her in her area of expertise, swordsmanship. The next moment, Yi Hongchen suddenly burst into a sword intent, and the prosperous sword intent suppressed Qian Shuiying's sword intent. Call. Qian Shuiying only felt a breeze blowing her ears, and the long sword in her hand flew out. Even Yi Hongchen in front of him disappeared, as if he wasn't there at all. I'm sorry, I want this monster core of the monster tiger. Yi Hongchen came to the head of the monster tiger and opened his eyebrows with a random sword. A red demon core nearly the size of a fist rolled down from the center of its eyebrows. Qian Shuiying only calmed down this time, and instead of going over to pick up the long sword inserted above the ground, she looked at Yi Hongchen and asked, "Who are you?" After picking up the demon core, Yi Hongchen smiled softly at the eyes of thousands of Shui. "I have seen a Raksha girl in Yi Hongchen at Juechen Palace. It turned out to be one of the 4 great arrogances of the world. Yi Hongchen, I really didn't expect your strength to be so fast." After Qian Shuiying heard Yi Hongchen's words, her face suddenly became a little embarrassed. After all, they're all one of the 4 great arrogances. But today, she was completely suppressed by Yi Hongchen. This shows what? It shows that Yi Hongchen's strength has surpassed her, who is also one of Tianjiao. How can she be convinced? The Raksha girl was joking, and Yemu was just lucky and broke into the pill formation earlier. Otherwise, it may be difficult to easily defeat the Raksha girl today. But Yi Hongchen didn't hide anything. After finishing speaking, she gave Qian Shuiying a little hand. "Now that I've seen another Tianjiao, it has also rounded Yemu's heart and bid farewell." "Wait, you want to learn from me, but you just kissed me. What happened?" Yi Hongchen had just turned around and wanted to show her body as light as a swallow. When she suddenly heard Qian Shuiying's words, she paused for a while. "Well, when I saw the Raksha girl up close," Yemu couldn't help feeling a little bit and hoped that the Raksha girl would not be too resentful. "Oh, you kissed me? You can't help but want to dispel my hatred? You, who am I?" When Qian Shuiying heard Yi Hongchen's words, her face seemed to be covered with frost. The next moment, a small short sword suddenly appeared in his hand, and a burst of white light lit up on his body. "Call!" In front of Yi Hongchen, Qian Shuiying suddenly appeared, and the short sword in her hand was cut directly at his throat. Swordsmanship. When the scene of Qian Shuiying flying upside down in Yi Hongchen's prediction did not appear, but his sword still rested on her dagger, without retracting the scabbard. What? Pill formation. After Yi Hongchen felt Qian Shuiying's cultivation base at this moment, her azure blue eyes couldn't help but trance for a while. Chapter 0055. Juechen Palace Disciple versus Tianxian Pavilion Disciple. After seeing Yi Hongchen stunned for a moment, Qian Shuiying couldn't help but smile a little triumphantly. "What? Is there anything the earthly prince can't think of?" After finishing speaking, her slender legs swept towards Yi Hongchen's back. Dragon Shadow. Upon seeing this, Yi Hongchen kicked out, and there were still some shadows. "Hold head high. Touch your legs." A sound of dragon chants suddenly sounded. Yi Hongchen and Qian Shuiying both retreated under this leg. 3 steps to Yi Hongchen. Qian Shuiying 5 steps. Raksha girl is worthy of being one of the arrogances, and her legs are not much different from me. Yi Hongchen couldn't help but secretly said as she looked at Qian Shuiying in front of her. In the next moment, a sense of war was immediately revealed. He was also an arrogant man, and he also had his pride. "Master Earth, why don't we make a bet? It's just a trick. You won. You kissed me just now, so forget it." Qian Shuiying didn't move after seeing Yi Hongchen's rising fighting spirit. "Then what if you win?" Yi Hongchen put the sword in the scabbard and asked while gathering his sword intent. "If I win, then you have to do something for me. Don't worry, it won't be disadvantageous to you or Juechen Palace." Qian Shuiying stretched out an index finger and said towards Yi Hongchen. Yi Hongchen shook his head when he heard the words. When the hand holding the hilt of the sword was loosened, the light blue light suddenly appeared on his body. Light as a swallow. The next moment, his toes lightly touched the ground, jumped up to the big tree behind him, and quickly disappeared here. And the total time is only 2 or 3 seconds. This kind of unequal bet, a fool would agree to it. Seeing Yi Hongchen run away suddenly, and finally heard such a sentence, Qian Shuiying's face was suddenly furious. "Yi Hongchen, you despicable villain. Even if you ran away silently, you are still not one of the arrogances." Qian Shuiying held the dagger in her hand. The anger in her heart couldn't be reduced at all, and she vented fiercely towards the trees beside her. Yi Hongchen, who was shuttled back and forth in the woods, couldn't help but smile when he heard Qian Shuiying's angry voice. Thousand Shuiying. Although she is a good-looking person, it's a pity that it's too hot and hard to control, so don't provoke her in the future. After murmured, Yi Hongchen continued to rush towards the south, but he still couldn't sense any breath of spirit fire from the spiritual sense. At this time, the core disciple token in Yi Hongchen's waist, who was still unharvested, suddenly lit up in a blue ray directed to the north. It's going to be difficult so soon. Yi Hongchen felt a little puzzled when he saw this. Because this was the situation when the talisman was crushed, it was used before that day, and it was no wonder Yi Hongchen was puzzled. The center of Wulongyuan. The 10 outer disciples of Juechen Palace are fighting with the Tianxian Pavilion of the same 10 disciples. Judging from the situation, the 10 disciples of Juechen Palace are already 5 lying on the ground at this moment, while the disciples of Tianxian Pavilion are only 2 lying on the ground. Senior Brother Yun, kill these gangsters. Don't let the token be robbed. Zhao Qingkai was lying on the ground. Even though her body was full of scars, she did not persuade. Only you? Boy, are you the villain with the token? Hand over the token and I won't kill you. Zhao Qingkai's words were naturally heard by the people in Tianxian Pavilion. A young man with a spear pointed at Yun Laiji with a contemptuous look. At this moment, Yun Laiji also had several wounds on his body, but they were all just skin injuries and did not hurt his life. Do you want a token? Then you can try it. Do you have the ability to get it? Chapter 0056. Disciples of Juechen Palace failed. If you want a token, you can try it and see if you have the ability to get it. Yun Laiji looked at the young man holding the spear, and his eyes rose unyieldingly. The next moment, Yun Laitzi held the A-Pei in his hand and stumbled towards the young man. You besieged the 4 of them. This guy will be handed over to me. Feng Xiaotian looked at Yun Laiji and suddenly laughed. Well, since Senior Brother Feng wants to meet in person for a while, will we stop it? The 7 disciples of the Tianxian Pavilion all praised Feng Xiaotian, and then they circumvented Yun Laitzi very wittily and rushed toward the other 4 disciples standing in Juechen Palace. Everyone, be careful. Zhao Qingkai has crushed the talisman paper, and Senior Brother Yi has arrived now. Dragging time. Li Xianyue held a green long sword in her hand and said when she saw the 7 disciples of the Tianxian Pavilion rushing over. Although this is a shame to Brother Yi, we can't help it, kill. A male disciple looked a little embarrassed, and after speaking, he rushed towards the Tianxian Pavilion disciple. After Yun Laiji came about 10 meters in front of Feng Xiaotian, there was a burst of red light from the sword. Martial skill, meteor. When the words fell, Yun Lai stepped heavily on the ground, holding the heavy sword in his hand, jumped into the sky, and slashed towards Feng Xiaotian with the sword. Coupled with the red light on his sword, it really seemed to fall like a meteorite. A mere post-acquired peak. How can you suppress me? Feng Xiaotian couldn't help but smile when he saw the cloud coming closer and closer. In the next moment, he suddenly bowed his waist, and the tip of his long sword hit the ground. A strong wind actually floated under his feet, and bursts of green spiritual power surrounded him. Call! In the next second, Feng Xiaotian soared into the sky. The wind under the feet has actually condensed into a general substance, which is visible to the naked eye. He actually wanted to take the sword from the cloud in the air. Wow! Above the sky, the falling cloud came suddenly hit by a gust of wind. He, who was originally like a meteorite, was now like a swaying arc. At this moment, Feng Xiaotian's spear tip came first and hit Yun Laitzi's A-Pei head-on. A burst of green spiritual power instantly invaded Yun Laitzi's entire person. Spiritual power is released. He is a congenital period. When he felt a strong wind that seemed to tear his whole person to pieces, Yun Laiji couldn't help but horrified. Get off! Feng Xiaotian's spear that was on the A-Pei of Yun Lai suddenly retracted, and the spear shot at Yun Laitzi, which was wrapped in wind. In the next moment, Yun Laiji was slammed by the gun, and his whole body was smashed to the ground, and the heavy sword was also inserted beside him. Feng Xiaotian came to the ground shortly afterwards, with the spear reaching Yun Laiji's throat, and said in a condensed voice, "Hand over the token." Brother Yun. When all the people in Juechen Palace saw this, they all shouted worriedly. Even Li Xianyue, who was fighting with 3 Tianxian Pavilion disciples of the same cultivation level, couldn't help but shout, "Do you dare to be distracted by fighting with the 3 of us? Lie down." Seeing this, a female disciple of the Celestial Pavilion in front of Li Xianyue suddenly drew a sword in Li Xuanyue's face. Although Li Xuanyue's development is not so good, her face is undoubtedly stunning. So this female disciple is jealous, and this is the only way to attack her face. If this sword is really hit by her, there is no doubt that Li Xuanyue's face will be completely ruined in this life. However, although Li Xianyue had seen it too, it was too late to avoid it now. Call. Chapter 0057. Lichen Fairy. Farewell Dream Call. Just when Li Xianyue was about to be hit by this sword, a breeze came. In the next moment, Yi Hongchen appeared in front of Li Xianyue like a ghost. A random shot was shot, and the 3 disciples, including the female disciple of the Heavenly Immortal Pavilion, were all hit by a car and flew out fiercely. Pointing his toes again, Yi Hongchen held Li Xuanyue's waist with one hand and flew quickly towards Feng Xiaotian. At a terrifying speed, Li Xuanyue's hair was fluttering with the wind, and her eyes were fixed on Yi Hongchen's profile. Yi Hongchen moved quickly. When the 3 Tianxian Pavilion disciples were about to land, they had already come to Feng Xiaotian's side and kicked him on the waist at will. Feng Xiaotian, who had previously felt as if he was in control of the overall situation, was kicked flying by Yi Hongchen, rolling far above the ground, and then stopped after hitting a large rock. And Yi Hongchen, holding Li Xuanyue's waist at this moment, stood in front of Yun Laiji. "It's Brother Yi. Brother Yi." Zhao Qingkai was surprised when she saw the red lines on her shoulders. The other disciples of the outer sect of Juechen Palace were all pleasantly surprised, and even the injuries on their bodies seemed to heal. Yi Hongchen chuckled at Li Xianyue first, released the hand that held her waist, and looked at Yun Lai's Tao. "Yes, although you have lost, you are very sturdy, and the opponent is innate, and it is normal to lose." Originally, after seeing Yi Hongchen, Yun Laiji still felt a little sorry for Yi Hongchen. At this moment, following Yi Hongchen's words, he immediately dissipated. Outer disciple of Tianxian Pavilion, Feng Xiaotian has seen this senior. After Feng Xiaotian slowly stood up from the ground, he lowered his head towards Yi Hongchen and said softly, "Although the 4 giants compete for their own interests, they can be matched by their brothers and sisters. It turns out to be a disciple of the Tianxian Pavilion. No wonder my Juechen Palace outer disciple will lose, worthy of the first name of the 4 forces." After Yi Hongchen heard it, he did not continue to attack Feng Xiaotian. Otherwise, the leg, just now, would have been Long Ying's leg technique. Tianxian Pavilion. Upon hearing Yi Hongchen's words, the 10 outer disciples of Juechen Palace became silent. When Feng Xiaotian heard Yi Hongchen's words, a touch of pride appeared on his face. Obviously, he was very proud of his identity as a disciple of the Tianxian Pavilion. "I just don't know. Where's the disciple of your team leader? I injured my Juechen Palace disciple, but you can't just let it go," Yi Hongchen said at the end. A fierce look suddenly appeared in his eyes. This brother said yes, but one thing is wrong. As soon as Yi Hongchen's words fell, a young girl in a blue long gown suddenly fell from the sky. The girl's face is beautiful and vulgar, but there's a layer of blood missing between the skin, and she looks abnormally pale, and her temperament is like a fairy descending to the world, which makes people afraid to look at it. Tianxian Pavilion, dream farewell, fairy lichen. If Yi Hongchen is the prince of the world, then this dream parting is the fairy who has left the world. It's so beautiful. Even if Yi Hongchen read countless women, after seeing the dream parting, his expression couldn't help but be stunned. Not to mention the other male disciples. All of them were dumbfounded when the dream parting appeared, just like Brother Pig. After Meng farewell, saw the reaction of Yi Hongchen and others. Her face did not change. "Fairy lichen? I don't know. What are you talking about?" Chapter 0058. The first contest, Fairy lichen. I don't know what that point you just said. Although Yi Hongchen was also stunned by the appearance of Meng Farewell, he quickly recovered and asked with doubts. Seeing that Yi Hongchen had only been shocked for a few seconds before returning to normal, Meng Farewell couldn't help but glance at him more. It was the first time I saw a man who was able to recover so quickly. I don't know who is the senior brother. Meng Bieli didn't reply to Yi Hongchen's words, but asked about Yi Hongchen instead. Among the four major forces, Juechen Palace can say that the younger generation has the most leaders, one Yi Hongchen, one Yi Lingyun, and one Moran. Although Yi Hongchen is also rated as one of the four great arrogances, it does not mean that Juechen Palace will also send Yi Hongchen this time. Therefore, Yi Hongchen didn't think much about the question of farewell to Meng. My name is Yi Hongchen. After Yi Hongchen said, he waved behind him. A gust of breeze passed through Zhao Qingkai and Li Xuanyue's 8 outer disciples besides the 2 women. Yin Laiji and the others immediately recovered from the happiness of the dream farewell, but they couldn't help but secretly watch the dream farewell, which made Li Xuanyue and Zhao Qingkai very uncomfortable. Among the 4 great arrogances, although Meng Farewell is the oldest, but he is only close to 18 years old, they have such a face, and they can't help but become jealous. Hearing Yi Hongchen's words, Meng Farewell's eyes suddenly rippled. But it was just a ripple, not too surprised. It turns out to be the son of the earthly sun. Meng Bieli met the earthly son of the earthly sun. Meng Bieli slightly bowed to Yi Hongchen. As for the point I just said, it's not wrong. After all, your outer disciple is not as skilled as humans, even if you get beaten. Meng Farewell said here, paused, and looked at Yi Hongchen's eyes. It's also not strange. My Tianxian pavilion. Hearing the words of Meng Farewell, a sense of shame suddenly appeared in the hearts of several disciples of the outer sect of Juechen Palace who had just sneaked a glance at her. That's right, they are not as skilled as people, and they can't be blamed if they are true, but they can only be blamed. After Yi Hongchen heard Meng's parting words, his azure blue eyes narrowed slightly. What's the matter with the earthly sun? Is it because I said something wrong? Just when Yi Hongchen felt a little uncomfortable, he heard the doubtful voice of Meng Farewell. This woman is a little scary. Seeing Meng Farewell, Yi Hongchen became vigilant in his heart, his face unchanged, and chuckled. Yes, it is my outer disciple of Juechen Palace who is inferior to others. I can't blame your outer disciple. Oh, the earthly prince's words are a little bit different. Could it be that you want to have a fight with a little girl? Meng Farewell suddenly heard the dissatisfaction in his heart from Yi Hongchen's words and directly said, That's right. That's what Yi Hongchen said. The outer disciple of Juechen Palace is not as good as your disciple from the outer door of the heavenly immortal pavilion. So it's not necessarily the case that Yi Hongchen and her dream farewell. Yi Hongchen slowly grasped his right hand on the hilt and said lightly, That's what I meant. Although the dream farewell is indeed very beautiful, the seductive and even the dusty temperament on his body attracts him. But he is also the young palace master of Absolute Qin Palace, and one of the 4 great arrogances. Then we might as well find a place so as not to hurt the innocent. After Meng Farewell, his body flew towards the sky like a bird. A little bit below Yi Hongchen's feet, a light blue light appeared on his body, and he immediately followed the dream and left. Juechen Palace, the outer disciple of Tianxian Pavilion, also rushed to follow the direction of the 2. Chapter 0059. Yi Hongchen vs. Dream Parting in Longawen, a small blue sea area, a blue-clothed dream standing on the surface of the sea, as if it had merged with the sea. In front of Meng Farewell, Yi Hongchen, dressed in white, looked out of tune with the scene around him. Because the clouds at the top of Wollongwan are all dark clouds, there is no sunlight in the entire mountain range, and there is even some haze. Yi Hongchen, dressed in white, naturally looked out of place. The others were too slow to keep up and might even be lost. Master Earth, let's make a move, I think. You should have also reached the initial stage of the Golden Core Pill Formation stage, right? Meng Farewell stood on the surface of the sea, and the waves on the sea rushed over one after another, but she did not shake her at all. Yi Hongchen slowly closed his eyes, as if he had died, standing motionless on the surface of the sea. As you wish. The next moment, Yi Hongchen opened his eyes suddenly, and a sea pillar suddenly rose into the sky behind him. Bang! Yi Hongchen actually ran to the dream farewell above the sea. The sea beneath my feet began to roll. Swordsmanship. After getting close to Meng farewell for some distance, the light blue spiritual power on Yi Hongchen's body suddenly turned into blood-red spiritual power. There was still some distance to reach Yi Hongchen in front of Meng farewell, and suddenly appeared like a flash. The long sword hanging from his waist was also caught in his palm. Yi Jian wiped the throat of Meng farewell relentlessly. Puff! A smear of blood suddenly appeared in the throat of Meng's parting, and a bright red blood flowed out. And Yi Hongchen was standing behind Meng farewell. The long sword had been put in the scabbard by him for some time, but his face became more solemn. Boom! A sound like a water bottle being smashed into Yi Hongchen's ears, and the dream of parting behind Yi Hongchen suddenly disappeared. The sight in front of him unexpectedly saw another parting dream, still immortal, and even the throat was still extremely white. There are no sword marks at all. Master Earth, this sword is powerful and fast, but unfortunately, you can't beat me. Meng Farewell's face was still very indifferent, and even when she said this sentence, her tone was incomparably plain. Yi Hongchen let out a cold cry and slowly pulled the sword out of the sheath, but he groaned inwardly. Because the predecessor was too arrogant, he didn't bother to learn about the swordsmanship in Juechen Palace. Instead, he created swordsmanship by himself. Swordsmanship, including the dragon fist, the dragon shadow, and the body as light as a swallow, they were all created by him, too arrogant. However, he also seems to have the arrogant capital, because since his cultivation level reached the innate, all these four alone have allowed him to ascend the Tianjiao. It is a pity that at this moment, after Yi Hongchen confronted Meng's parting, his sword-drawing skills suddenly lost its effect. Instead, he fell into a situation where he didn't have any sword attack methods. As soon as his thoughts turned, Yi Hongchen urged the blood pills in his body, and a bloody spiritual power suddenly appeared on the white sword body, swiping fiercely toward the sea in front of Meng Farewell. The long sword was quickly put into the scabbard by Yi Hongchen. Wow! A thick wall of water suddenly appeared in front of Meng Farewell, rushing toward her. The expression remained unchanged. Instead, she slowly raised her delicate hand and pointed out. In the next moment, the air current in front of her was like a fierce monster. It directly smashed the thick water wall in front of her and smashed away. It's now. When the water wall fell down, Yi Hongchen's toes were a little above the sea. A monstrous sword intent broke out. Chapter 0060. The shortcomings of sword drawing are highlighted. A monstrous sword intent suddenly broke out. The place where Yi Hongchen originally stood was suddenly sunken in, revealing a void. The water wall that had just fallen was suddenly in a trance, and the next moment, Yi Hongchen, dressed in white, suddenly appeared in front of Meng Farewell, with a sword pierced out. Meng Farewell obviously didn't expect that the water wall that Yi Hongchen had just hit was just his blindfold. After seeing the sword stab by Yi Hongchen, the toes were actually slightly above the sea. The entire petite figure suddenly fell backward along the sea surface, and Yi Hongchen followed closely with a sword. The long sword's throat is only close to 10 centimeters away from Meng Farewell. It seems that if Meng Farewell's speed is a bit slower, it will be directly pierced by Yi Hongchen's throat. Damn it, why can't I catch up with her? Yi Hongchen couldn't help but feel anxious as he watched the dream farewell that was always this distance. You are anxious, and you lose. Just as Yi Hongchen's emotions arose, the pleasant voice of Meng Farewell suddenly came. Although pleasing to the ear, at this moment, Yi Hongchen's ears were extremely ironic, as if this dream farewell could see through her mind. After Meng Farewell, she stretched out her hand, slowly approached Yi Hongchen's long sword, and tapped on the long sword. The next moment, a chill spread from the sword body into Yi Hongchen's body, and even the blood-colored spiritual power wrapped on the sword body completely dissipated at this moment. The sword intent, that was originally fierce like a flame, seemed to be extinguished by the cold water and disappeared. Although Yi Hongchun still maintained the posture of a sword stab at Meng Farewell, there was only an empty shell and no strength. With this sword, Yi Hongchun lost. Thinking of this, Yi Hongchun slowly stopped using his sword technique as light as a swallow, staying on the surface of the sea. Dreaming farewell, as if he had expected Yi Hongchun to stop, also stopped, still maintaining the previous distance, and a pair of beautiful eyes looked at him faintly. I lost. Yi Hongchun put away the long sword, said flatly, and turned away slowly. Looking at Yi Hongchun's back, Meng Farewell could feel the coolness in his heart, and couldn't help but speak. If it weren't on the surface of the sea, your sword could beat me. Hearing that, Yi Hongchun stopped, turned his head, his eyes quietly watched the dusty dream farewell, and smiled lightly. If you lose, you lose. Light as a swallow, a faint blue light suddenly appeared on Yi Hongchun's body, and in a blink of an eye, Yi Hongchun disappeared in front of Meng Farewell's eyes. This Yi Hongchun is also a strong opponent. Meng Farewell murmured when he remembered that Yi Hongchun could still laugh at the end. Since she was a child, she has had the ability to know the emotions of others and the spiritual functioning of others. She also relied on this ability just now to predict Yi Hongchun's movements step by step. In the end, she was forced to use that finger to compensate for the dream. Yi Hongchun, who had already returned to the shore, took a deep look at the sea and felt very uncomfortable in his heart. It's not unacceptable to lose, it's just that he lost to a woman, which makes him a little bit embarrassed. But as he said, if you lose, you lose. It seems that we have to create another sword technique, and sword drawing skills may not work. Yi Hongchun murmured, do what you want. Yi Hongchun exudes spiritual consciousness and immediately finds Yun Laitzi and others who are rushing here in the woods, and his body moves. After a while, Yi Hongchun saw Yun Laiji and the others, and there were disciples from the Tianxian pavilion beside them. Chapter 0061. Rejecting the invitation of Dream Farewell, when he moved his feet, he immediately came to Yun Laiji, Feng Xiaotian, and other 20 people. Yi, brother Yi. As soon as he saw Yi Hongchun, all the people in Juechen Palace suddenly said with a little excitement, Brother Yi, how is it? Did you give that woman a severe lesson? Zhao Qingkai looked at Yi Hongchun in admiration and said with some excitement, what do you need to say? Yi Hongchun is the son of the world, one of the 4 great arrogances. Yi Hongchun, where is that woman? Except for Kaiyun, the 9 outer disciples of Juechen Palace all said to Yi Hongchun openly. After all, in their opinion, if Yi Hongchun came back first, he would naturally be the winner. Not to mention that Yi Hongchun's statement was the most prosperous among the 4 great arrogances. The people in Tianxian Pavilion obviously think so too, all pouting, a little unhappy. Yi Hongchun's mouth twitched when he heard what they said. He always accepted these words with great joy. But putting these words in the present, it made him kind of mocked by his own people. The earthly sun did not win me, but I also failed to win the earthly sun. Just when Yi Hongchun wanted to say that he had lost, a pleasant voice suddenly came. The next moment, a blue-clothed dream parting suddenly came to Yi Hongchun's side. A pair of beautiful eyes looked at Yi Hongchun, and a smile appeared on his face. Isn't it? Hearing this, Yi Hongchun was slightly startled and subconsciously moved his gaze away from Meng Farewell's body. When the disciples of Juechen Palace heard the words, the cheers stopped immediately. Looking at each other, they were not talking anymore, and they knew that they had just said something wrong. Yun Laitzi, there's also a piece of talisman paper here. If you encounter any monster beast, crush it again. Yi Hongchun took out a piece of talisman paper from the storage ring again, handed it to Yun Lai, and left. It's the same with you. After Meng Farewell, Zhao Feng Xiaotian waited for a sentence, followed Yi Hongchun, and left the sight of both forces together. Suddenly, the disciples of the 2 forces looked at each other, wondering if they were going to seize the token of the other side. The other side? Yi Hongchun wait. After Yi Hongchun and Meng Farewell came to a forest in the north, Meng Farewell stopped Yi Hongchen directly. What's the matter? Yi Hongchen looked at Meng Fair. His eyes were full of impatience. He also wanted to find a place to practice new sword skills, but did not know that Meng Fair had followed. Although she is very beautiful, it can even be said that this is the first time he has seen such a woman. But the kind of woman who could detect his emotions and even his inner thoughts, Yi Hongchen really didn't want to be too in touch. There's a precious thing in Wollongong. I wonder if you're interested? If so, no. Yi Hongchen refused directly. After finishing speaking, he set off again, and in a blink of an eye he left the sight of Meng Farewell. Meng Farewell did not follow up this time. After hearing Yi Hongchen's refusal, he flew directly to the northwest. On a seashore, Yi Hongchen was sitting on a large rock, motionless like an old monk entering Ding. Feel the bitterness of the cold wind, the extraordinary sea surface, and the impact of the current on the rocks. The sound of the sea came into Yi Hongchen's ears one after another. He seemed to feel something, but he was a little unpredictable. He has been sitting here for an unknown length of time, because the brightness in Wollongong is dim, and he has no idea about day and night. Wind force, sea water, impact force. Every time the wind blows, the sea water hits the stone once, wave after wave, getting stronger and stronger. Chapter 0062. Self-made swordsmanship storm. Wind force, sea water, impact force. Every time the wind blows, the sea water hits the stone once, wave after wave, getting stronger and stronger. Yi Hongchen's closed eyes slowly opened, feeling the wind around him, and there was a hint of understanding in his heart. With strength and strength, wave after wave, like a sea wave, wave after wave, is not smooth. Quickly drew the long sword from his waist and swung a sword towards the sea that just happened to be impacted by the wind. A bloody sword gas instantly split the sea area in front of Yi Hongchen, and the sea on both sides suddenly flew up. Call. The next moment, when the road that was split out of the day had not been submerged by the sea again, Yi Hongchen suddenly entered that road. Call. It seemed that a sword that was swung casually turned the sea water, hanging on both sides, into a hollow ocean current again. The long sword that had been drawn to the side was once again pierced into the sky by Yi Hongchen. Wow! The sea around him was led by Yi Hongchen's sword and rushed into the sky. In the sea area close to 50 meters around Yi Hongchen, a piece of land was vacated, and some unknown fishes were struggling, even lying on the ground without seawater. Transformation. When Yi Hongchen felt that thoughts seemed to be almost unpredictable, he slashed forward fiercely. The next moment, the seawater that continued to flow in front was suddenly cut in half, like a knife. After Yi Hongchen finished all this, his toes lightly touched the dirt, and the whole person suddenly returned to the rock lightly. However, the sea area where land appeared due to his sword practice took a minute or so to fill the empty space again, restored as before. Looking at the restored sea surface, Yi Hongchen's face suddenly showed joy and said with a faint smile, "Sure enough, the sword can be as dense as rain, turbulent like waves, and stretch like a river. The last sword is a sword that will kill you." Talking endlessly, even if the last sword is blocked, Yi Hongchen can still rely on the momentum borrowed from the previous 3 swords to carry out waves-like attacks, wave after wave. A sword is more powerful than a sword. Since I learned it here, then name you Fenglang sword art. Yi Hongchen muttered with some satisfaction. Wind and wave swordsmanship. There are a total of 4 moves. The previous one that used sword energy to split the waves was the first style, the open flow style. The second style is to use the power of the open flow style to turn to the sides and double the attack power. This is torrential. The third type is to use the power returned by the rushing type to attack the sky again, and the attack power is increased by 2 times. This is the sky flow style. The last style is also the last style Yi Hongchen has created, the Langjian style. With the 3 swords in front, 1 blow will kill. Even if it is taken by the opponent, the strength of the 3 forms is ushered in the back, which is 3 times the strength. After the 4 swords passed, even if he couldn't kill the opponent, the spiritual power consumed in Yi Hongchen's body was still not much, only 10% of the spiritual power. With such a level of swordsmanship, with the insights in Yi Hongchen's mind, he has already passed the top grade of the heavenly ranks. Bang! Just when Yi Hongchen was thinking about wind and wave swordsmanship, a huge monster suddenly appeared in the sea in front of him, except for the crocodile whose size is different from the previous life. The head of the crocodile is actually a human face. At this moment, the face was extremely ferocious, as if full of anger. He killed Yi Hongchen, who was standing on a rock by the sea. The human face emperor crocodile is still in the Jin Dan stage Yuan Dan realm. Yi Hongchen was in an uproar when he saw this. Chapter 0063. Second killing Jin Dan late stage. The human face emperor crocodile is still in the Jin Dan stage Yuan Dan realm. Upon seeing this, Yi Hongchen burst into an uproar. When Yi Hongchen was in an uproar, the human face emperor crocodile directly opened its mouth, and a blue light flew out of its mouth. Yi Hongchen's whole body was like a swallow, leaping forward, and the blue beam of light immediately hit his original big rock. The big stone was like tofu, and it instantly decomposed into a pool of blue venom. Yi Hongchen stood in the void, frowning after seeing the end of the big stone. The human face emperor crocodile, the second type of overlord in the sea, has the strongest mouth and the second tail, but it has never been heard that it is poisonous. Roar! Seeing that he hadn't hit Yi Hongchen with a single blow, the human face emperor crocodile suddenly roared in anger. In the next moment, the sea water below Yi Hongchen suddenly rose up into the sky, as if it was targeted towards Yi Hongchen. Yi Hongchen looked at the water column rising into the sky, and a pair of azure blue eyes suddenly showed a sense of war. Since you emerge in such a hurry, then use you to try this young man's wind and wave swordsmanship. Yi Hongchen slowly pulled out the long sword from the hilt in his waist. His eyes locked on the human face emperor crocodile. Wind wave swordsmanship, open flow style. Yi Hongchen quickly swung a sword, and a bloody sword aura rushed towards the flying water column. Wow! As soon as Jian Qi hit the water column was split in half and fell toward both sides. But the sword aura was still powerful, slaying towards the human face emperor crocodile, and immediately came directly to its head. Boom! A roar sounded around the human face emperor crocodile. There was a jet of water floating around. When the water column all descended, the human face emperor crocodile looked viciously upward, where Yi Hongchen was. However, where is the figure of Yi Hongchen in the sky? It has long since disappeared without a trace. Idiot, I am here. Yi Hongchen stood beside the huge body of the human face emperor crocodile. When the words fell, the long sword in his hand slashed towards the human face emperor crocodile. The second sword style, rushing style. A blood-colored sword light suddenly appeared on the human face emperor crocodile, and the entire body of the human face emperor crocodile was repelled by Yi Hongchen's sword. Call! In the next moment, Yi Hongchen appeared on the other side of the human face imperial crocodile like a ghost, and pierced again with his sword. Puff! On the back of the human face emperor crocodile, a bloody sword wound suddenly appeared after being hit by Yi Hongchen's sword. The third sword style, sky flow style. Yi Hongchen, who was standing beside the human face emperor crocodile, slammed a sword into the sky. The body of the human face emperor crocodile was pushed into the sky by some inexplicable force and could not struggle with this force at all. If anyone who has studied wind is here, they will definitely see at a glance that the body of the human-faced emperor crocodile was pushed up by the wind, but it hits the emperor crocodile itself. The last pose, the Langjian style. Yi Hongchen looked at the human face emperor crocodile flying into the sky. Holding the long sword in his hand, his body suddenly rose into the sky. The sword tip was like an electric drill. Suddenly passed through the eyebrows of the human face emperor crocodile. Yi Hongchen also passed through the human face emperor crocodile, reaching a height higher than it. At this moment, Yi Hongchen suddenly remembered his sword-drawing skills again, and quickly put the long sword into the scabbard, and a powerful sword intent suddenly appeared. Kill Nian. The human face emperor crocodile who was originally pierced by Yi Hongchen's sword between his eyebrows was doomed to death. After feeling the sword intent, the human face emperor crocodile immediately issued a mortal blow. A blue beam of light flew out of the mouth again, killing Yi Hongchen. Call. However, Yi Hongchen has disappeared, and when it reappears, it is already above the sea. Chapter 0064. Spirit Fire appears, Swordsmanship. When the last human face Emperor Crocodile issued the final blow before death, Yi Hongchen had already used the sword drawing technique, one step ahead of him. The next moment, still above the sky, there was no human face crocodile falling down, and the body was suddenly divided into two halves. The upper body and the lower body are extremely uniform. Like a knife. Bang! Bang! The two halves of the human face Emperor Crocodile fell from the sky, blasting out two clusters of splashes from the sea below. Human face Emperor Crocodile, pawn. A light blue light emerged from Yi Hongchen's body, which had already appeared on a large rock on the seashore, looked at the body of the human face Emperor Crocodile, and smiled faintly. With a sword drawn out again, a blue sword aura instantly hit the eyebrows of the human face Emperor Crocodile. A blue demon core appeared, and Yi Hongchen waved his hand. And the demon core, containing the golden core stage Yuan core realm cultivation base, immediately flew into his hands. This demon core is not bad. The white ring on Yi Hongchen's hand flashed brightly, and the demon core disappeared immediately. It's time to go out. I don't know how long it took here. Wolongyuan, northwest. As soon as Yi Hongchen came out of the remote place, he felt a strong breath from the northwest, and there were some energy fluctuations in it, but it was small. This breath is a dream farewell and Qian Shuiying. There is another one who is comparable to them. It seems that it should be Master Lekin, Huang Jinyan. Yi Hongchen secretly said in his heart, and continued to show his body as light as a swallow, and hurried away. To the northwest, in a gloomy gorge, there are a lot of people, 43 people. Tianxian Pavilion, Juechen Palace, Qin Yuezong, the outer disciples of the four major forces of Raksha sect, and the third of the four great arrogances. It can be said that only Yi Hongchen had disappeared from the four major forces that entered Wolongyuan, and in front of them, a white light stood on an ancient high platform, and a beam of light shone from the dark clouds and shone in the center of the high platform. In the center of the high platform, there was a blazing white flame, which seemed to be confined to the center by a white mask and could not leave there. I discovered this spirit fire first. The two. Can you give it to the little girl? Meng Farewell stood in front of the 10 outer disciples of the Tianxian Pavilion, looking at the Raksha girl, Qin Shuiying, who also stood at the top of their respective forces. Huang Jinyan, the son of Lekin, said lightly, "The first thing you found is yours?" A joke. Then I will see this Wolongyuan first. Are you willing to see everything in Wolongyuan belong to me? Raksha girl saw Meng Farewell's indifferent appearance. As if the spirit fire was like hers, she was very upset and said directly and mercilessly. Huang Jinyan, who was wearing an emerald gown, nodded in agreement when he heard the words and said loudly, "The Raksha girl is true, Fairy Lycan. Forgive me for Huang Jinyan's offense." After seeing the two of them so ignorant of raising them, Meng Farewell shook his head slightly and said coldly, "If this is the case, let's see who has the ability to get it. Spirit fire, that is a rare treasure in the entire continent, capable of burning everything. It is said that the number 1 Emperor Fire can burn the sky all at once." When the words are over, the dream farewell is like a migratory bird, flying briskly to the high platform. So courageous! Qian Shuiying's face suddenly became angry when she saw this, and she quickly rushed towards Meng Farewell with her long sword in her hands. Although Huang Jinyan did not act like the two of them, he sat on the ground, and a green gyukin appeared in front of him. He placed his hands on the piano and moved slowly. Chapter 0065. Stirring the dung stick. Huang Jinyan. The battle is on the verge. In Juechen Palace, The 10 outer disciples headed by Yun Laiji looked at each other, and some didn't know what to do. Is there something wrong with Brother Yi? I haven't come first for so long. Do you want me to pinch the talisman to notify? Looking at the 3 Tianjiao fighting together, Yun Laiji couldn't help but secretly became anxious. These 3 Tianjiao are now in the golden core stage. Even if it is just the aftermath of their battle, they can make the minds of all the outer disciples go blank. They definitely have no chance to obtain this kind of spiritual fire, but they don't want to fall into the opposing forces Tianjiao. Now that the Tianjiao of Juechen Palace has not come, they are naturally a little impatient as members of Juechen Palace. No, brother, you must be back. Maybe he's coming from somewhere at this moment. Let's go out and get ready. Li Xianyue directly stopped Yun Laiji's plan, and then told her plan, the plan to seize the token. After listening to her, the others couldn't help but give him a thumbs up and then began to withdraw from the place where the spirit fire was. Look, the outer disciples of Juechen Palace retreated. Are we? Hey, leave them alone. They don't have Tianjiao disciples, so naturally they are not interested in this battle. Ah, that's what I said. When the disciples of the other 3 giants saw this, they did not stop them, and they were still watching from a distance. After Meng Farewell hit Fei Qiangsu Ing with a palm, he continued to skip towards the high platform where the spirit fire was. Upon seeing Huang Jinyan sitting on the ground, a pair of slender fingers suddenly lit up with a burst of green light. The next moment, the sound of the piano sounded again. In front of Meng Farewell, green leaves suddenly appeared, killing her like a flying sword. This Huang Jinyan is really annoying. A helpless look suddenly appeared in Meng Fair's plain eyes. She had to enter the high platform several times, and it was Huang Jinyan who blocked her again and again. After destroying these green leaves again, Meng Farewell was also forced back a full 10 steps away, and Qian Shuiying once again forced Qian Shuiying away from the dream. When Qian Shuiying rushed to the high platform, Huang Jinyan's dung-stirring stick immediately forced Qian Shuiying back again. This has been repeated no less than 3 times. Huang Jinyan, my mother will kill you here. When Qian Shuiying was beaten back by Meng Farewell, she couldn't help but yell to Huang Jinyan, Raksha girl, or else, let's work together to solve the result of the feces stick. Meng Farewell stopped and stood at a distance from Qian Shuiying. It is good. Qian Shuiying immediately responded and then slowly turned around, all looking at Huang Jinyan. When Huang Jinyan saw this, the corners of his mouth twitched, and he said in a little embarrassment, You guys with such a leisurely mind, why don't you continue to take the stage and grab the fire, right? It's your father. Qian Shuiying finished speaking, and with a wave of her long sword, she moved her feet and immediately killed Huang Jinyan. Seeing this, Meng Farewell didn't break his promise. He just slapped Huang Jinyan away. Huang Jinyan hurriedly put the piano in the storage ring, stepped heavily on the ground, and immediately flew up. Bang! In the next second, a burst of ice suddenly appeared at Huang Jinyan's original location. The outer disciple, standing behind Huang Jinyan, was immediately affected. Although the ice didn't hit them, the powerful impact still knocked them all out. Huang Jinyan, pour my mother on the ground. Qian Shuiying stepped on the ice that appeared and shouted to Huang Jinyan in the air. Call! A white shadow passed through her. Chapter 0066. Yi Hongchen appears call. Just as Qian Shuiying rushed into the air and wanted to stab Huang Jinyan with a sword, a white shadow suddenly passed by her. That's what? Qian Shuiying couldn't help being distracted. She, who had used even the sword intent of Rakshasa, suddenly dissipated. After Huang Jinyan saw it, he naturally wouldn't let go of this best period of avoidance, and immediately retreated quickly. And Meng Farewell had already been seen when Bai Ying passed Qian Shuiying. Now Bai Ying was rushing towards her, and the murderous Ling ran breath immediately rushed toward her face. Meng Farewell raised her hands, and a white light screen suddenly appeared in front of her, and suddenly blocked the white shadow's path. Bang! The next moment, the white light screen in front of Meng Farewell suddenly shattered like glass. A terrifying force directly hit Meng Fair's abdomen. She didn't wait for Meng's departure to slow down. She just felt like she had been kicked in the back. The whole person flew out immediately and hit the ice cube that she had previously changed from hitting Huang Jinyan. Boom! The ice cube suddenly shattered. Meng Farewell's blue gown was suddenly pulled apart by the ice cube, revealing the white short shirt inside. Qian Shuiying, Huang Jinyan, and the 30 disciples present all looked over when they heard the movement. After seeing the farewell dream, which was actually one of the 4 great arrogances, the fairy-like woman lying on the ground couldn't help but breathe in air. Then he looked at the position where the dream farewell stood before very tacitly. At the moment, standing in that position was a young man, spotlessly dressed in white, with a handsome face, soared eyebrows, and star eyes. There's also a superior temperament on his body, as if he is a person in the highest position. The earthly son, Yi Hongchen. After seeing the boy, the name suddenly appeared in everyone's hearts. Because one of Tianjiao can be beaten like this at once, only Tianjiao. And their thoughts are not wrong. This person is the Yi Hongchen who just rushed over. As the so-called enemies meet, they are extremely jealous. Although Yi Hongchen and Meng Parting are not enemies, they are of the same nature. Sorry, this spirit fire belongs to me, Yi Hongchen. Yi Hongchen was watched by so many people, not panicking at all, but smiled faintly. When Qian Shuiying saw Yi Hongchen, she immediately left Huang Jinyan behind, and her beautiful eyes stared at Yi Hongchen fiercely. Yi Hongchen, I thought you were going to be a turtle and dare not show your head. Why did you come out? Qian Shuiying put the tip of the sword on the ground, dragged the sword, and walked towards Yi Hongchen, while saying with murderous intent, "Shrink the head tortoise? I'm sorry. Yi Hongchen is afraid of everything, but I'm not afraid of going out." Yi Hongchen's expression remained unchanged, and she still smiled faintly. Okay, last time you slipped away while I wasn't paying attention. Now I'll see if you are strong, or I am strong. When the words were over, Qian Shuiying's body suddenly disappeared, and she suddenly came to the top of Yi Hongchen, and a sword quickly pierced the Yi Hongchen Tianling guy. Yi Hongchen did not move, as if she hadn't noticed that she was just above her head. When Qian Shuiying was about to stab him in the head, a faint blue light suddenly lit up on her body. Move your feet slightly to the left. The next moment, Yi Hongchen's body appeared directly 2 steps to the left, and Qian Shuiying's sword pierced the ground fiercely. While Qian Shuiying's whole body was still on her head and legs, Yi Hongchen directly pulled out the long sword in her waist and stabbed her in the head. Chapter 0067. Yi Hongchen vs. 3 Tianjiao, looking at the long sword stabbed in slow motion. Qian Shuiying closed her eyes involuntarily. Call. When the long sword stabbed in front of Qian Shuiying, it slowly stopped, and the sword wind instantly blew across Qian Shuiying's white face. Yi Hongchen grabbed Qian Shuiying's hand with one hand and lifted it up like a monkey. Hey, I didn't intend to kill you. Don't pretend to be dead. Yi Hongchen looked at Qian Shuiying, who closed his eyes, only to feel amused. Upon hearing Yi Hongchen's words, Qian Shuiying suddenly opened her eyes, trying to attack Yi Hongchen. As a result, Yi Hongchen directly threw Qian Shuiying out just like throwing garbage, and her abacus was frustrated. After Yi Hongchen finished all this, he paced towards the high platform as if there was no one here. After seeing Yi Hongchen continue towards the high platform, they dreamed of leaving, and Huang Jinyan and the other 2 returned to their senses. Yi Hongchen, Meng Farewell's body bent for a while, and suddenly appeared behind Yi Hongchen. Feeling a burst of chill behind him, Yi Hongchen carried the long sword behind him without looking back. Bang! On the long sword just behind him, a pile of tall ice suddenly appeared. Do you really think I couldn't beat you before? It's just I want to save my strength, Yi Hongchen said lightly without turning his head. The blood pill in his body suddenly turned into a blue round pill. The next moment, a burst of blue spiritual power surged above the sword, and the ice suddenly flew out. There was a twist before Meng Farewell, and the ice cubes that had flown upside down suddenly shattered before she carefully pondered the specific meaning of Yi Hongchen's words. A light blue sword aura suddenly came oncoming. Open flow. Meng Farewell was immediately hit by this light blue sword aura. broken body. When Yi Hongchen saw this, a faint smile appeared on his face, and his feet moved, and the whole person suddenly came to the left of the original dream farewell position. Rushing, a quick stab. Meng Farewell's body was like a failure of invisibility and was immediately forced to show up. Looking at the long sword that was pierced quickly, Meng Farewell also stretched out his hand. The index finger was at the tip of the sword, and the white light emerged from the tip of the finger, which matched the blue light at the tip of the sword. Call! A gust of wind suddenly centered on Yi Hongchen and Meng Farewell and impacted Xiang Qian Shuiying, Huang Jinyan, and all the outer disciples except Juechen Palace, who was not here. Those disciples whose highest level was not at the initial stage of innate key training realm could not withstand this gust of wind at all. One by one, they flew upside down and slammed in the tree with good luck and fainted gloriously after hitting the stone. Those with bad luck don't know where they flew. Feng Xiaoyan's luck was obviously bad, and no one knew where he was directly swept away. After seeing Yi Hongchen's stalemate with her, Meng Farewell bit her lips slightly and said, "Raksha girl, young Master Lekin, don't take action at this time. Who can resist Yi Hongchen later?" Originally wanted to stay out of the matter, or take a look at the lively Qian Shuiying first. Huang Jinyan was startled when he heard the words. Fairy Lycan is right. Master Earthly, how offended it is. Huang Jinyan appeared again with a green gyukin in his hand, and the next moment, the piano sounded. Behind Yi Hongchen, a sword aura suddenly appeared one after another, all because of the sound of the piano. Qian Shuiying looked at Yi Hongchen, gritted her teeth fiercely, and immediately replaced her long sword with a short sword, and suddenly rushed towards Yi Hongchen with the intention to kill the sword. Fairy Lycan, you were anxious, but you lost. Yi Hongchen didn't care about Qian Shuiying and Huang Jinyan, but a faint smile appeared on his face. Chapter 0068. The Power of the Wave Sword. Seeing Yi Hongchen's faint smile, Meng Farewell never felt the emotion in Yi Hongchen's heart, and his heart sank suddenly. Could it be that he can still get out of this situation? After the thought in my heart came out, the white light on Meng Farewell's fingertips couldn't help but grow stronger. In Meng Farewell's plain eyes, he was immediately very firm and secretly said, "No matter what you have, this blow is bound by my fantasy spiritual power, and I don't want to escape." "You lost," Yi Hongchen suddenly said after seeing the white light on Meng Farewell's fingertips. The next moment, Yi Hongchen suddenly disappeared in front of Meng Farewell, carrying a sword with him. Bang! Without the support of Yi Hongchen's sword, the white light on Meng Farewell's fingertips suddenly rushed forward. And the direction was Qian Shuiying. "What?" Qian Shuiying couldn't help, but suddenly said as she looked at the white light rushing toward her. After Yi Hongchen disappeared in front of Meng Farewell's eyes, he suddenly came to the sword energy that appeared because of Huang Jinyan's piano sound. After a sword stroke, he disappeared again. Like a ghost, he came directly to Meng Fair's side. And at this moment, those sword keys suddenly appeared a blue sword light at this moment. Dissipated in an instant. Meng Farewell's eyes couldn't help but look towards the sword key, but Yi Hongchen had already come behind her, and once again struck out the sword. Bang! A blood-colored sword light appeared again behind Meng Bi Li, and Meng Bi Li's entire body suddenly flew out, without a trace of scars behind him. But she could see the white back behind her, and the shirt on the back had a sword cut open, revealing the inner armor. Obviously, it was because of this inner armor that helped her offset Yi Hongchen's sword. Sky flow. Yi Hongchen didn't have time to care about the parting of the dream, and fully urged the sky to flow. At the next moment, Qian Shuiying, who was about to be hit by the white light, suddenly ascended to heaven. Even the dreams lying on the ground fly out, and the dream farewell ascends to heaven. Huang Jinyan, who was putting his hands on the piano, only felt that a terrifying wind rolled up under him. The next moment, he suddenly flew into the sky, but the piano was still unaffected. Oh, it turns out that this is flying. In the past, I could only enjoy a short flight with jumping ability, but now it is real. Me too, and I always feel that there's a wind on my body that makes me fly into the sky. the disciples of the other three major forces, except for some people who had been rushed by Yi Hongchen and Meng's departure. All of them ascended to the sky. For a time, everyone except Cai, Yi Hongchen, was above the sky. Qian Shuiying, Dream Farewell, Huang Jinyan, and the three of them just wanted to break free from the shackles of this wind. And Yi Hongchen's fourth formula was launched. Wave sword style, 3 waves superimposed. Above Yi Hongchen's sword, a deep blue spiritual power surged there, and Yi Hongchen was as if he had fallen into the ocean. Everyone, it's over. Bai Ling's cold fire is my Yi Hongchen. After Yi Hongchen finished speaking, he slashed towards the sky with his sword. No. No, Brother Yi. No, Brother Yi. Master Earth, I don't want to die. Don't. Night. After feeling the terrifying spiritual power contained in Yi Hongchen's sword, apart from the 3 great arrogances, everyone begged for mercy. At the next moment, a huge, deep blue sword suddenly appeared above the sky. Puff! Including the 3 Tianjiao, all fell into a state of fainting under this sword. Not to mention the more unbearable outer disciples of the other 3 forces, who were directly cut in half by this sword. Chapter 0069. Injury the 3 great arrogances boom. The next moment, the blue sword light exploded immediately. The people floating in the sky were all blown away by this explosive force. Of course, apart from Cai Meng Farewell, Qian Shuiying, and Huang Jinyan, the others are corpses, and it doesn't matter where they are rushed by the explosive force. Even the entire sky above Wollongwan suddenly wiped a blue light, which made the somewhat dim Wollongwan suddenly light up. Bang! The others were swept away by the explosive force, and only Meng Farewell was rushed to the ground in front of Yi Hongchen by this explosive force. The thick ground was smashed into a cobweb-like crack by the body of Meng Farewell. Just imagine how powerful this explosive force is. If it weren't for the separation of dreams that had already reached the golden core stage, I am afraid that this shock could completely kill her. Now, I'm afraid it will be a little troublesome. Yi Hongchen muttered as he looked at the gray sky. Suddenly killed so many tycoons of the top 10 outside sects. Even the Tianjiao disciples were severely injured and passed out into a coma. It is conceivable that if they waited for the news to reach their respective sects, what kind of violent storm Yi Hongchen would usher in. Outer disciples are not important. In the past, even if Yi Hongchen killed a few, nothing would happen. But now, as a disciple of the team, he actually personally killed the top 10 outside sects that the opponent came to evaluate, which is not giving face to the 3 major forces. In other words, Yi Hongchen alone has lost face to the 3 major forces. If you don't do anything to him, I'm afraid it will be difficult to gain a foothold in their respective territories. However, Yi Hongchen did not regret it either. In front of Bai Ling's cold fire, these were all trivial matters. Bai Ling is cold. That is the 6th spiritual fire on the list of spiritual fires. And there are 15 spiritual fires on the list of spiritual fires. It is conceivable how difficult it is to see them. Putting the sword into the scabbard, Yi Hongchen slowly walked towards the high platform. As Yi Hongchen approached, the spirit fire on the high platform became more violent. Call! When Yi Hongchen stepped onto the first step of the high platform, there was a sudden twist on the high platform, and a strong temperature suddenly rose in the direction of Yi Hongchen, light as a swallow. However, Yi Hongchen had already seen the white and nearly colorless flame and moved directly into the high platform when he moved his feet. Now, no one should be able to hinder me, Yi Hongchen muttered as he looked at the white flame in front of him that was suppressed in the center of the high platform by a force. Directly stretched out his hand and dived into Bai Ling's cold fire. The moment he just dived in, a somewhat contradictory temperature suddenly appeared on Yi Hongchen's body. It was so hot that Yi Hongchen thought that the whole person was going to be burnt to ashes, and it was so cold that Yi Hongchen thought that he was about to become an iceman. Then half of the body was dying hot, and half of the body was dying cold. It's going to be something in my bag. I'm still struggling. I don't know the so-called. Yi Hongchen resisted the discomfort and started the Shura evil Qigong. The original blue spiritual power suddenly became blood-red spiritual power. There was a half-person-sized spirit fire before, and when Yi Hongchen was running the technique, he suddenly lost a circle. But Yi Hongchen had a pale, white arrogance on his body, and he was somewhat adjusted to the temperature of the cold fire. It's too slow. Although he was refining the spirit fire, the speed was really slow. Yi Hongchen thought about it a little, and suddenly plunged into the cold fire. Ho-ho-ho! Inside the white fireball, you can faintly see a figure sitting in the fireball. Chapter 0070. Promoting Golden Core Midterm. Just as Yi Hongchen was refining Bai Ling's cold fire, Jue Gong, Yun Laixi, and others had already won a token. It's also a coincidence that not long after they left, and before they even found a place to ambush, one person suddenly flew into their crowd by himself. Moreover, this person is still Feng Xiaotian. It can be said that he is an old acquaintance, and most importantly, he is also injured. As a result, there was no change in the slightest. Although Feng Xiaotian, who was injured, had a cultivation base of the innate Qi Gang realm, he couldn't perform at all. He was beaten severely by Yun Laixi and others before lying on the ground very honestly, looking at the dark clouds in the sky. Strange, what was the blue light in the sky just now? It seems to be the sea. Feng Xiaotian slowly stood up, a little confused about the blue light just now. Forget it. Let's go back quickly. I don't know how the current situation is. Feng Xiaotian shook his head and immediately rushed to the previous position. He didn't even care about tokens. But as soon as he approached the land of spiritual fire, he saw a pile of mutilated corpses, and the whole person was taken aback. Junior sister, Feng Xiaotian suddenly shouted when he saw a face on the upper body. Is it the hand of other Tianjiao? Didn't senior sister Meng stop it? No, I'm going to have a look. Land of spiritual fire. After Feng Xiaotian walked in, he saw only one person who was lying on the ground unconscious and dreaming of parting. Just thinking about waking up the dream, parting, he saw a person sitting on the high platform, and he was very familiar with that face. The earthly son, Yi Hongchen. At this moment, Leng Hua had become the size of a fist, and it seemed that it would not take long for Yi Hongchen to be able to refining successfully. Seeing this situation, Feng Xiaotian clenched his fists slightly. Thinking of the mutilated bodies that he saw on the way here, a chill in his heart couldn't help but rise. No, I have to take away senior sister Meng quickly. Otherwise, it will be difficult when Yi Hongchen's refining is completed. Thinking of this, Feng Xiaotian immediately ran towards Meng Farewell. Just as Feng Xiaotian thought, Yi Hongchen was about to finish Bai Ling's cold fire at this moment, and it took nearly an hour. During this period, the whole body seemed to be turned into blood, and it was fortunate that there were falling stars and tears, which allowed his body to break through the limit again and again without causing any accidents to his body. Otherwise, I am afraid that when Yi Hongchen has just entered the fire group directly for refining, it will not be long before he will be broken by the power of the spirit fire. Fortunately, Yi Hongchen had meteors and tears, and he was blessed because of it. With the power of the flesh, Yi Hongchen felt that he had reached the early stage of the golden core. Coupled with the cold fire of refining, it broke through the middle of Jin Dan in one fell swoop, holding the Dan realm. Call! Yi Hongchen exhaled slightly, and the cold fire in front of him disappeared in front of him. Successful refining. As soon as he opened his eyes, Yi Hongchen saw Feng Xiaotian. At this moment, he had just picked up the dream farewell and was about to run away. It's you, the outer disciple of Tianxian Pavilion. Yi Hongchen stood up slowly, and a white light flashed through a pair of azure blue eyes. White light like Bai Ling's cold fire. Suddenly hearing Yi Hongchen's figure, Feng Xiaotian's body trembled suddenly. My son has killed so many people. It seems that you are not missing. Yi Hongchen couldn't help but smile faintly when he saw Feng Xiaotian's trembling body. Just after taking a step, there was a feeling of blazing heat in the body suddenly, as if something had been invaded in his mind. He couldn't help but stop flashing forward. When Feng Xiaotian took a step in Yi Hongchen, he was so scared that he threw down the body of Meng Farewell and strode out. Chapter 0071. The ridiculous things with fairy lichen. As soon as Yi Hongchen took a step, Feng Xiaotian ran away in fright, leaving her dreaming farewell to lie on the icy ground. No, this night Hongchen has already refined the spirit fire. This place can't stay longer. I want to inform the cabinet. Feng Xiaotian, who didn't know how far he ran away, couldn't help but feel a panic of fear when he thought of Yi Hongchen's words just now. My son killed so many people. It seems that you're not missing. Thinking of this, the spiritual power in Feng Xiaotian's body was running wildly, and he didn't even dare to look back for fear that Yi Hongchen would be behind him. Land of spiritual fire. Standing on the high platform, Yi Hongchen felt the fiery heat in the dantian. Even if he used the spiritual power in the blood pill, he couldn't suppress the heat at all. What's the matter? Why? I have never heard of fusion spirit fire, and such things happen. Yi Hongchen was puzzled, and as he suppressed it, the heat in his dantian increased. Yi Hongchen subconsciously looked at Meng Farewell, and this glance directly made him lose his mind. Call! Yi Hongchen stepped on the high platform, and the whole person came directly to Meng Farewell. And the high platform collapsed completely with Yi Hongchen's foot. But Yi Hongchen's consciousness was very vague at this time. He just wanted to vent the flames in his dantian and directly and rudely tore open to some torn clothes of dreaming parting. A white flame instantly rose from Yi Hongchen's body, and the clothes on his body were directly burned to ashes, and his hands picked up the dream farewell lying on the ground. Falling into a coma, I can't resist anything at all. Of course, even if I'm not in a coma, I'm afraid I can't resist Yi Hongchen. For a time, in the land of spirit fire, only Yi Hongchen's rude gasps and shocks were left. 2 hours later, Yi Hongchen's consciousness slowly returned, and her sanity gradually recovered. He looked at the mess in front of him, and the dream farewell lying on the ground without any clothes, suddenly stunned. Yi Hongchen looked at Meng Farewell's extremely immortal face and was extremely haggard at the moment, even in a coma, frowning. At this moment, the breath of separation from the dream is very weak. It seems that although she will die, Yi Hongchen stretched out her hand and pressed it against her neck. When she felt the breath of life, she couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Silently took out the spare white gown from the storage ring. Looking at the broken clothes around Meng Farewell, Yi Hongchen took out a piece of clothing again and covered her. As he watched, Yi Hongchen really didn't know if he was going to be beastly again. The dream separation at this moment seemed to be experienced once, and he would die completely. So now, am I going to kill her or let her go? Yi Hongchen sat on the ground, a little confused in his mind. If it's another woman, he will just play it. There is nothing serious about it. But Meng Farewell is the saint of the heavenly immortal pavilion, who is the same as the young palace master of the Jiechen Palace. If this matter is known to the people of the Tianxian Pavilion, it must cause a battle between the heavenly immortal pavilion and Jiechen Palace. If he wants to quell this battle, he can only be dismissed if Yi Hongchen is dead or has nothing to do with Jiechen Palace. Although Yi Hongchen only needs a cloud of Bai Ling to avoid it now, he still didn't kill the heart of a woman who had a relationship with him. At this moment, a small groan suddenly came out of Meng Bili's mouth. It's not dead, just at this time. Yi Hongchen turned away, did not look at Meng Farewell, but just turned his head. A trace of bright red blood suddenly appeared in Yi Hongchen's eyes. First Girl read. Chapter 0072. When the air suddenly freezes upon seeing this pool of red blood, Yi Hongchen's previous thoughts were suddenly shattered. Isn't it just a small Tianxian pavilion? As a member of the crossing army, could Yi Hongchen kill a woman who had had a relationship with him because of this? Do not. That's too shameful. Yi Hongchen whispered in his heart and immediately felt ashamed of the thought just now. The consciousness of dreaming farewell gradually returned and only felt that her whole body was falling apart. So it was her sensitive area, as if it had split apart. As soon as he opened his eyes, the goal was Yi Hongchen's handsome and extraordinary profile, just about to speak. After a gust of wind blew, Meng Farewell only felt cool all over his body. After a glance, there was only one obviously looser changsha covering his body. When I felt the intense pain under my body, Meng farewell seemed to have happened to me. His pale face became paler. You wake up. I will let you go back when you are better. Yi Hongchen closed his eyes slightly, said slowly, and opened his eyes again. The eyes are full of plainness. Then he walked directly to the side of Meng farewell, supported her legs with one hand and dragged her neck with the other, and stood up slowly. Meng farewell didn't say a word. Although she wanted to get rid of Yi Hongchen's hand, her whole body fell apart, and she couldn't move at all. Soon, Yi Hongchen walked to the beach where he had previously understood the swordsmanship of wind and waves with his dreams wrapped in a long gown, and personally did what his parents did, helping Meng farewell to take a bath. During the whole process, Meng farewell didn't say a word, just stared at Yi Hongchen with a pair of plain eyes. Yi Hongchen took a bath for Meng farewell, and an evil fire suddenly appeared in her heart, but he was forced to press it down again, helping Meng farewell put on his clothes. Yi Hongchen sat on the big rock, Meng farewell lying on the rock. Neither of them spoke. The difference is that Yi Hongchen looks at the sea, and Meng farewell looks at Yi Hongchen. Don't worry, I won't kill you. When you get better, I will let you go. It took 30 to 40 minutes before Yi Hongchen spoke slowly. After Yi Hongchen finished speaking, he waited for a full 2 minutes and couldn't help feeling a little bored after he couldn't hear the parting words of Meng. What's the difference between you doing this and killing me? At this moment, the small voice of Meng farewell reached Yi Hongchen's ears. Yi Hongchen stood up and glanced at the dream of the man lying on the stone. The next second, with a little toe, the whole person came to the surface of the sea. After a short time, he disappeared on the surface of the sea. After Meng farewell saw Yi Hongchen disappear, his eyes slowly closed, and 2 tears couldn't help streaming down from the corners of his eyes. She now has the urge to seek death. She was innocent and was asked for by someone she had never met before. It was placed on her, and she couldn't accept it at all. Yi Hongchen came to a place near the center of the sea, stopped immediately, and stood on the surface of the sea. Forget it. Don't be angry, women. Let them go. Yi Hongchen let out a sigh of relief, and the next moment, he stomped fiercely. Bang! The next moment, the sea water under Yi Hongchen's feet suddenly broke through a big hole, revealing a huge monster beast under the sea floor. Swordsmanship. Yi Hongchen didn't even see the whole picture of this monster beast, and slashed its body directly with a sword. He directly supported its body with one hand, and cut off its tail with a sword again, leaving only the body part, and brought it above the sea. Call. As soon as his body moved, he immediately returned to the original place. Chapter 0073. Finding the celestial pavilion after Meng farewell heard the sound again, he opened his closed eyes and suddenly saw Yi Hongchen. Yi Hongchen dragged an unknown piece of meat in her hands, which seemed to have been roasted, and a scent spread into her nose. There is no bowl, just eat it. Yi Hongchen came to Meng farewell's side and said lightly. After finishing speaking, it seemed that he expected that Meng Baili would not speak to him, so he pulled out a piece of meat with one hand and stretched it to Meng Baili's mouth. After seeing Meng farewell and opening his mouth, Yi Hongchen's brows suddenly frowned. Eat or not? Yi Hongchen shook the meat in his hand in front of Meng Baili's eyes and said questioningly. Meng farewell met Yi Hongchen's eyes and said faintly, nausea. Hearing this, Yi Hongchen didn't speak anymore, but instead threw the meat in his hand into his mouth. In the next second, he opened Meng farewell's mouth rudely with one hand, and Yi Hongchen directly kissed Meng farewell's lips, turning the flesh of her mouth into Meng farewell's mouth. He waited until Meng Baili swallowed the piece of meat, and Yi Hongchen raised his head and stuffed another piece of meat into his mouth. Without asking Meng Baili, he kept putting half of the burned beast meat in the belly of the dream farewell. Although Meng farewell had 10,000 unwillingness in her heart, she couldn't resist Yi Hongchen and could only let him do it. After Yi Hongchen finished eating the rest of the meat by herself, she looked at Meng Bai and said, "Your injury is very serious. You need. Aren't you all fighting?" Meng Baili interrupted Yi Hongchen's words directly. "Yeah," Yi Hongchen said faintly. The ring on his hand lit up with a burst of white light, and 3 bottles of pills suddenly appeared in his hand. Healing pill, Huiling pill, Bigu pill, engraved on the pill bottle. After placing it on top of the stone, a piece of talisman paper appeared in Yi Hongchen's hand again, and he smashed it easily, and a golden light mask immediately enveloped him and Meng's parting. This is an isolation talisman. It can last a day, and you should recover in 1 day. Yi Hongchen said faintly, moving under his feet, and disappeared here. Since Meng Farewell didn't wait to see him so much, why did he forcefully do something to lick the dog? Wollongwan, the periphery. Yin Laiji and the others had already left Wollongwan, and after speaking to the guard station at the entrance, exit to the east, they returned to Juechen Palace. Because they believed that with Yi Hongchen's cultivation base, there would be no accident in Wollongwan. Yi Hongchen slowly walked out of the exit, looking at the sunlight shining from the sky, with a feeling of seeing the sky again. Young Palace Master. The guard of Juechen Palace guarding here saluted towards Yi Hongchen. Yi Hongchen nodded slightly and asked, "Are the 10 disciples coming out?" The master of the returning young palace. He has come out yesterday and has returned to the palace of absolute dust. Then a few days have passed since I went in. Back to the young palace master. It's the 4th day. After Yi Hongchen heard the answer he wanted, he opened the beast bag, and Nighthawk suddenly came out of it. Call. Nighthawk took Yi Hongchen into the air and began to fly in the direction of Juechen Palace. After flying for a while, Yi Hongchen smiled faintly. How long do you plan to stay with you? Hoo. After Yi Hongchen's words fell, the 4 people immediately walked out of it, looking at the clothes on his body. They were all from the Tianxian Pavilion. 3 middle-aged people and 1 old man. 3 golden core stage primal core realm. An old man who Yi Hongchen couldn't see through his cultivation base. Presumably you are Yi Hongchen, right? It's your skill to win the spirit fire, and we don't want to say anything, but where's the dream farewell? What have you done to her? The old man stood in the first place and asked in a deep voice. Chapter 0074. Slaying the Yuan Dan with 1 sword. Where's the dream farewell? What do you do to her? The old man stood in the first place and asked in a deep voice. Hearing the old man's words, Yi Hongchen didn't feel a trace of panic on her face, but instead laughed and said lightly, "What else? The young palace lord can't resist the beauty of fairy lichen." Naturally, although Yi Hongchen hadn't finished speaking, when he heard this, where did the 4 people in front of Yi Hongchen not know the meaning of his words? Yi Hongchen, do you really think that you are the young master of Juechen Palace? Yi Tiandue's son? I dare not kill you. The old man's face was extremely gloomy. Looking at Yi Hongchen, his face showed killing intent, and he didn't hide it at all. The old man's name is Jun Haoyan, and he is the great elder of Tianxian Pavilion. He has always loved Meng Bi because Meng Bi is the grandson-in-law he chose for his grandson Jun Liniwu. No, I know you dare to kill me. Yi Hongchen said this, holding his right hand on the hilt of the sword in his waist, but also see if you have that ability. When Jun Haoyan heard this, his face was stunned, and then he smiled with disdain. I admit that your talent is indeed quite high, and in time, you'll be able to reach my level. However, that is also later. Have many geniuses appeared throughout the ages? Why are there so few strong people on the mainland? Because they are all strangled in the cradle. To tell you, a genius who hasn't grown up is destined to be just a pile of bones. Don't be too arrogant. After Jun Haoyan finished speaking, he waved to the 3 middle-aged people in the Yuandan realm of the late Jindan stage behind him. Kill him. If Yi Tian definitely has any questions, let him come to Tianxian Pavilion himself. Yes, Grand Elder. The 3 middle-aged people said together, and then walked over from behind. With 3 powerful cultivation bases immediately, there was a sudden cold wind on the sky above this side. Yi Hongchen slowly closed his eyes, as if he had accepted his fate, waiting for death to come. Oh, you're not easy to do it. Let me do it. A middle-aged man with a sheep beard said slowly, and flew straight towards Yi Hongchen. Call. A blue spiritual force immediately wrapped the whole body of the middle-aged man and punched Yi Hongchen's face. Just when Yi Hongchen was about to be punched in the face by the middle-aged goatee, his head tilted slightly to the side. This punch of the middle-aged man passed through Yi Hongchen's ear, and it touched Yi Hongchen's ear just a short distance away. What? When Sheep Beard saw this, his heart was horrified, and a sense of crisis suddenly appeared in his heart. The next moment, Yi Hongchen opened his eyes suddenly. A pair of azure blue eyes, dazzling like stars. The middle-aged goatee only felt a breeze blowing across his face, and the night red dust in front of him disappeared like smoke and dust. Puff! In the next second, a blood-red sword glow appeared on his body. A sharp pain instantly floated up on the middle-aged goatee, making him feel a suffocation, and instantly he lost consciousness. That's because the middle-aged goatee suddenly became two halves. The body below the waist is separated from the body above the waist, and the disconnected place is extremely flat like art. Yi Hongchen did not know when, standing behind the middle-aged, sheep-bearded man, still holding his hands on the hilt of the sword at his waist, his eyes still closed tightly. Except for standing in the air under his feet, which is different from standing on the Nighthawk before, it is no different from before. In less than 3 seconds, behead a Jindan late stage. Chapter 0075. One person fights double element pill in less than 3 seconds. Yi Hongchen killed a strong man in the late Jindan stage in Yuandan realm with a single sword. This method immediately frightened the two people from the late Jindan stage Tianxian Pavilion in front of Yi Hongchen, and a touch of fear rose in his heart. This is the strength of Yi Hongchen, young master of the Palace of Great Chens. One sword easily kills people at the same level as them, and they didn't actually see Yi Hongchen's movements just now, only that Yi Hongchen tilted his head to avoid the punch of the sheep beard. Then, already behind the sheep beard, a blood-colored sword light appeared on the sheep beard. In the end, it became the situation. In the middle of the golden core, in the pill-holding state, didn't expect that in just a few days, you have achieved this kind of cultivation? Jun Haoyan took the lead in breaking the silence, looking at Yi Hongchen with a little dignity. It seems that it should be the cause of the spirit fire that made you step into the pill-holding realm all at once. But do you think you can beat 2 Yuandan realms? Yi Hongchen opened his eyes slowly when he heard Jun Haoyan's words and said coldly, 2 Yuandan? Even if it's you, in Yuaning stage, I kill him like Yi Hongchen. Ha, arrogant. Jun Haoyan burst into laughter when he heard the words. The next moment, he said solemnly to the two middle-aged people, come on together. Although they were a little afraid of Yi Hongchen's attack methods, after hearing Jun Haoyan's words, the two people's hearts suddenly rose to war. That's right, Yi Hongchen is just a pill-holding realm in the middle of the Golden Core. If he can kill the sheep beard at a higher level, can he kill the two of them together at the higher level? Even the sheep beard just killed may have moisture. After all, the sheep beard did not pay attention to Yi Hongchen before and completely despised it. As soon as they thought of this, the two of them thought the more possible they were. And at the end, they looked at each other and took out their weapons from the storage ring. One person is holding a gray axe. The other is holding a golden long sword. And the spiritual power on his body suddenly leaks out. Illusory swordsmanship. The middle-aged man with a long sword named Huang Chengrui, a series of golden long swords suddenly appeared in front of him. Go! As Huang Chengrui's sword pierced out, the golden long swords flew towards Yi Hongchen. Hoo-hoo-hoo! The long sword struck, and a gust of wind entered Yi Hongchen's ears. Are you testing me? Yi Hongchen glanced at Huang Chengrui with a pair of azure blue eyes and said faintly. Then, still standing motionless in the void, the long sword accurately pierced Yi Hongchen's body. Bingo! Seeing Yi Hongchen stabbed by his illusion sword so easily, Huang Chengrui couldn't help but feel happy. It's a pity that he hasn't been happy for 2 seconds. Yi Hongchen still didn't have the slightest wound on his body. Instead, the golden long swords passed through Yi Hongchen's body and continued to rush towards the distance. Just as Yi Hongchen's body is illusory, it is impossible to hit it at all. That's because his speed is too fast, and his afterimage has not disappeared, so there is this illusion. After Jun Haoyan saw it, he said to Huang Chengrui, So don't underestimate the enemy. You have to know that the opponent is the son of Tianjiao. Hearing Jun Haoyan's words, Huang Qingrui's heart suddenly became extremely solemn, and the previous thought of continuing to test Hongchen's methods suddenly appeared and disappeared. The middle-aged man with the gray axe next to him closed his eyes. His ears seemed to move. The next moment, a pair of eyes suddenly opened. Some tall bodies suddenly flew forward and cut them down with an axe. When the sound of a collision of weapons sounded, Yi Hongchen, dressed in white, flew upside down. Chapter 0076. Crushing 2 and the Yi Hongchen, who was being attacked by the golden flying sword, slowly disappeared, and Yi Hongchen under his body. Yi Hongchen, who was flying upside down, moved his feet and immediately landed on Nighthawk's back, still resting his hands on the hilt, as if the sound of the weapon colliding just now was an illusion. Qingrui, let's go together. The middle-aged man with a gray axe had a heavy face and said in a deep voice. After speaking, he once again raised his axe and slashed towards Yi Hongchen, who was standing on the Nighthawk. When Huang Qingrui saw this, the wind was blowing under his feet, and he immediately stabbed Yi Hongchen with a sword. When Yi Hongchen saw the two people who had been killed, the corners of his mouth raised, and his toes lightly touched Nighthawk's back. In the next moment, Yi Hongchen flew towards a higher sky. "Get me down!" The middle-aged man holding the gray axe shouted after seeing Yi Hongchen rushing upwards. Rumble! Above the sky, a huge axe appeared from the sky and quickly slashed towards Yi Hongchen. Yi Hongchen, go to death. Huang Qingrui was not to be outdone. With a sword pointed at the sky, a huge golden long sword suddenly appeared in front of him, like an ignited rocket, rushing towards Yi Hongchen above the sky. There is a big axe on the back and a great sword in front of it. Both have a strong force oppressing Yi Hongchen. Dead? You are dead, and Yi Hongchen will not die. Yi Hongchen said coldly when he heard Huang Qingrui's words. In the next moment, an overwhelming intent to kill the sword suddenly broke out on Yi Hongchen's body. Just killing intent can actually make Huang Qingrui, the middle-aged man with a gray axe, fall into an illusion, as if he were on the battlefield. This is the time. Swordsmanship. Yi Hongchen finally moved again on the hilt of the sword, turned around, and slew the huge axe upwards. Bang! A red sword light instantly chopped the huge axe above the sky in half and disappeared into the sky instantly. Yi Hongchen was very skillful in swinging towards the giant sword below. A blood-red sword aura flew out from the sword in his hand, facing the giant sword. Wind wave swordsmanship, open flow style. Boom! It's hard to believe that the sword energy that is several times smaller than the giant sword can destroy the giant sword all at once. After Huang Qingrui and the middle-aged man made the sound of the great sword shattering, his thoughts were immediately pulled back, and what caught his eye was a bloody sword aura with killing intent. No, hurry up! Huang Qingrui reacted very quickly, pushing directly on the middle-aged man with a palm, and then he backed away. Call! Just after finishing all this, the bloody sword aura flew over between the two of them. Thanks, Qingrui. The middle-aged man holding the gray axe thanked Huang Qingrui. Huang Qingrui just wanted to wave his hand, and when he said he was welcome, his eyes suddenly narrowed, then suddenly shouted, "Be careful behind you, what?" Hearing what Huang Qingrui said, the middle-aged man holding the axe was shocked. Before he could think about it, he swung the axe behind him. Yi Hongchen was like a ghost, slashing across the middle-aged man's axe. A bloody spiritual power instantly overflowed from Yi Hongchen's hands, and the huge power directly knocked the middle-aged body into the air. With a move, Yi Hongchen disappeared again. When he reappeared, he came behind the middle-aged man again. A sword pierced the hand holding the gray axe, and a burst of blood-colored light like a wave lit up. The long sword that pierced the middle-aged man suddenly swung aside fiercely, and the middle-aged man's entire arm, holding the gray axe, was cut off by Yi Hongchen's sword. Rushing. Chapter 0077. Jun Haoyan personally shot Puff. The next moment, Yi Hongchen slashed a sword across the neck of the middle-aged man with a gray axe, moved his feet, and disappeared immediately. Once again beheaded a Jindan, late Yuandan realm. When he reappeared, Yi Hongchen had already arrived in front of Huang Qingrui, and he was also the last Jindan late stage. No, don't. Huang Qingrui looked at Yi Hongchen in front of him, as if he had seen a devil, and screamed in terror. Yi Hongchen was unmoved, and he didn't even need to use the Tianlu style. With the superimposed power of the first two styles, he sealed his throat with one sword. Huang Qingrui lost consciousness. His body suddenly lost any support, and he fell from above the sky. But Yi Hongchen's fingers had already left the hilt, and after his hands were held down, her long black hair fluttered in the wind, and her blue eyes were plain and unremarkable. Okay, the choppy is cleaned up. It's your turn. Yi Hongchen stood in the air, looking at Jun Haoyan. A faint chuckle appeared on his face. Jun Haoyan's complexion was a little gloomy, as if he could squeeze water out of his face. He never imagined that the three masters of the late Golden Core Elemental Core realm would still be unable to take down Yi Hongchen, a young disciple who had just reached the middle Golden Core Holding Core realm. Okay, Yi Hongchen, I will make you regret and provoke me, because you can't afford it, Jun Haoyan said coldly. In the next moment, a spiritual power that made Yi Hongchen throbs suddenly exploded in his body. Just the cultivation base that Jun Haoyan exudes can actually pull the wind in the sky, causing Yi Hongchen's long gown to roar. And when Jun Haoyan radiated his cultivation base, Yi Hongchen was also able to accurately judge his cultivation base. He is at the same level as Lin Xian, the great elder of his Juechen palace, and Mo Juin, the patriarch of the Mo family. In the early stage of Yuanying, condensing the infant state, as long as it enters the Yuanying stage, the golden core in the body will be completely melted, forming a baby state in the Dantian, and the baby's appearance depends on his choice. Generally, babies are arranged to look like their own, because that way, the practice will be smoother. And the power in the baby is not the spiritual power transformed from aura, but a surging river like a liquid. The strength was dozens of times stronger than Jindanki before. Of course, that's just compared with the ordinary Jindan period. An ordinary golden core is only the size of a thumb, while Yi Hongchen's golden core, no, the blood core, is the size of an adult's fist. The most important point is that the golden core period can only live more than 300 years old at most, and the limit is only 350 years old. In the Yuanying period, there is a full 600 years of life. What's even more frightening is that even if the body is not dead, as long as the nascent soul is still there, he will be able to come back to life, not relying on others, but relying on himself to complete the resurrection. In the early stage of Yuanying, Ningying stage, Yi Hongchen muttered while looking at Jun Haoyan, closing his eyes slowly. He doesn't know if he can survive the nascent soul stage, but he is not afraid at all. Yi Hongchen, today next year will be your Memorial Day. Jun Haoyan held a long spear, his rickety body straightened up at this moment. Up and down, all exudes the meaning of incoherent mad fighting. Call. When the words fell, Jun Haoyan was like an enraged lion and shot Yi Hongchen to death. Although it was just a random shot, Yi Hongchen couldn't avoid it at all, and all the locations around him were completely blocked by Jun Haoyan. As long as Yi Hongchen dares to use his previous body and lightness to avoid him, what will greet him next is a storm-like offensive. Chapter 0078. Bet once with a wave, sword, meeting the sun? You're afraid you have to dream to see it. Yi Hongchen said lightly as he watched Jun Haoyan shot him. The next moment, a sword swung out quickly, and a blood-red sword aura flew towards Jun Haoyan. Ah, Yi Hongchen, do you think your sword energy can have an effect on this elder? Jun Haoyan finished speaking. As if to confirm the meaning of his words, he immediately swept across the sword energy. Bang! As soon as Gengji was touched by the spear, it was instantly like a balloon, and the broken pieces were very complete. Call. When the sword energy was just shattered, Yi Hongchen had already turned his passive into an active one, stabbing Jun Haoyan with a sword. As if Jun Haoyan had already prepared, the tip of the spear reached the tip of Yi Hongchen's sword with incomparable precision. Boom! A powerful air current radiated out instantly as Yi Hongchen and Jun Haoyan, the white clouds in the sky, the beasts that were already flying, and even the people standing on the beasts were all swept away by this air current. Yi Hongchen didn't have enough energy after all, so he was hit by Jun Haoyan's shot and flew out. However, Jun Haoyan was an influential and unforgiving man. With a move of his spear, he immediately caught up with Yi Hongchen, who flew out and stabbed 3 shots at once. Just when Yi Hongchen was about to be stabbed, a light blue light suddenly appeared on his body. Body skills, body as light as a swallow. Call. Yi Hongchen disappeared immediately, and when he reappeared, it was already behind Jun Haoyan. Another bloody sword aura issued. Open flow. As soon as the sword aura was released, Yi Hongchen used his body as light as a swallow again and flew towards the bottom of Jun Haoyan. Since the rushing pose doesn't work for Jun Haoyan, he just uses the third pose. Sure enough, because of his own cultivation level, Jun Haoyan didn't dodge and planned to take on Yi Hongchen's sword aura again. Bang! The bloody sword aura was once again destroyed by Jun Haoyan, and when he wanted to ridicule Yi Hongchen, he realized that the Yi Hongchen in front of him had disappeared. Old Miscellaneous. Let you become the first soul of the Yuan Ing stage under the sword of this young palace today. After Yi Hongchen flew under Jun Haoyan and said to him, the long sword suddenly pointed to the sky. Sky flow. When Yi Hongchen raised his sword, Jun Haoyan only felt that his whole body was covered by a powerful wind. In the next instant, the wind suddenly took him to a higher place, and he would still be unable to escape for a while. What the hell is going on? This Yi Hongchen is a little weird, so I have to get out quickly. Jun Haoyan frantically urged the Yuan Ing, who had just condensed in his body, and his body was superimposed on layer by layer with a powerful spiritual force. In such a moment, the wind was destroyed by him. While Jun Haoyan was struggling, the spiritual power of the blood pill in Yi Hongchen's body became greater and greater, and at this moment, the spiritual power in the blood pill was less than 50%. No, if this continues, it will not be able to sustain the consumption of the sky. Yi Hongchen gritted his teeth slightly and decided to take a gamble, betting that when he used the 4th style, the Langjian style, Jun Haoyan had not broken free from the shackles of the Tianlu style. Yi Hongchen quickly pushed the raised sword under his feet, and a powerful sword intent appeared on his body immediately. And even the blood pill in his body was madly running spiritual power. Hoo. Suddenly, a small tornado was rolled up in the sky. In the center of it was Yi Hongchen. Langjian style. Yi Hongchen slashed horizontally and waved to Jun Haoyan fiercely. The next moment, a blast of air rushed towards Jun Haoyan along with the small tornado on Yi Hongchen's body. Chapter 0079. Trade an injury for an arm. Hoo. Above Yi Hongchen, the space seemed to be distorted. Looking at Yi Hongchen, Jun Haoyan's body seemed to be curved. Jun Haoyan looked at the airflow in front of him, and the small tornado, full of murderous sword intent. His expression sank. This airflow has become weaker. A good opportunity. Jun Haoyan felt the wind that restrained him weakened, and he was immediately happy. Bang! In the next second, as if a balloon exploded, a burst of airflow burst out of Jun Haoyan's body. It is a pity that Yi Hongchen's offensive has already reached him, and there is no chance to avoid it. The spear breaks the waves. Upon seeing this, Jun Haoyan didn't think about avoiding him. Even if this move was strong, could it be better than his Ning Ing stage in the early nascent soul stage? In an instant, in front of Jun Haoyan, a huge spear was transformed into a huge spear. Following Jun Haoyan's movements, the spear also moved and flew toward the twisted air current. Boom! When the spear collided with Yi Hongchen's wave sword style, a white light appeared, and a more terrifying explosion appeared again. The light even forced Yi Hongchen to close his eyes, but he couldn't help putting the long sword in the sheath, still holding it on the hilt. The sword intent appeared again, and Yi Hongchen's sword-drawing skills were again accumulating. An attack of this level didn't kill him. It seems that the nascent soul stage and the golden core stage are at the same level. Yi Hongchen murmured, but he became extremely vigilant, and his spiritual sense explored the sky. He wanted to lock Jun Haoyan's position and issue a fatal blow. Call. At this moment, Yi Hongchen only felt that a powerful breath suddenly appeared behind him, and he stabled directly behind him without even thinking about it. When the long sword that Yi Hongchen stabbed in the past was immediately blocked. A spear suddenly took advantage of this gap and pierced Yi Hongchen's right hand. Puff! Ha ha ha! Yi Hongchen, why? Didn't you expect it? Jun Haoyan held a spear, and the tip of the spear pierced Yi Hongchen's arm. Just now after Jun Haoyan hit the Sanlang sword style, he also used his body skills, and while Yi Hongchen was accumulating his strength, he stabbed him with a shot. But Yi Hongchen's reaction was undoubtedly very fast, but unfortunately, his cultivation base was not low, and he was bounced off all of a sudden, and that's how it is now. Yi Hongchen looked at his pierced arm. His face was extremely cold, and suddenly smiled. Yes, I did not expect it. When the words fell, Yi Hongchen rushed forward by himself. The spear suddenly penetrated Yi Hongchen's entire arm. The next moment, the long sword also penetrated Jun Haoyan's arm. Under Jun Haoyan's painful expression, he slashed out fiercely. Puff! Jun Haoyan's entire arm was completely cut off by Yi Hongchen. So courageous! Jun Haoyan endured the pain in his arm, lifted his foot, and kicked heavily on Yi Hongchen's body. Yi Hongchen's body was like a kite with a broken wire, and he flew backwards quickly. Ding, it's time to check in. Asked the host whether to check in. Just as Yi Hongchen flew out, a cold electronic sound suddenly rang in his mind. It turned out that a week has come, and now he can punch in again. Yes. Ding, successfully clocked in. Congratulations to the host for gaining the plane, Wu Gengji. Ding, Wu Gengji has been opened. Ask the host if you can go there. Note, once you go to the secondary plane, the body will disappear from the primary plane. Yi Hongchen, I wanted you to live a little longer, but now I will kill you. Before Yi Hongchen spoke, Jun Haoyan's furious voice suddenly sounded. Chapter 0080. Soul wearing Wu Gengji at this time. Jun Hao was really innocent, and with his cultivation base in the Ning-Ing stage of the nascent infant's early stage, he was even cut off by Yi Hongchen by an arm. When the words fell, Jun Haoyan was like thunder, his only arm, shaking hands with a spear, slammed towards Yi Hongchen. Behind him, there was a phantom, invisible, but exuding an extremely terrifying coercion. He just stopped Yi Hongchen's body flying upside down. Hum, hum, hum. In the next moment, hundreds of spears appeared above Yi Hongchen's head out of thin air, and they descended mercilessly. Hoo-hoo-hoo. As if passing through the atmosphere, the wind screamed, Old miscellaneous, when I get better, I will definitely fight with you. Yi Hongchen looked at Jun Haoyan, who was killing himself, but still murmured helplessly. After speaking, Yi Hongchen quickly said yes. Stop. At this moment, a voice full of majesty came, and Jun Haoyan could not help but look away. Bang. It's a pity that Yi Hongchen disappeared so fast that he didn't even have time to look at the speaker, and disappeared instantly. And at the moment he disappeared, hundreds of spears passed through his previous place. Wolongyuan, dreaming farewell, sitting on the ground. A burst of blue light appeared above her body, and the bones in her body sounded from time to time. Finally recovered 30%. Meng Bili slowly opened his eyes and sighed lightly. Looking at the 3 bottles of pill on the ground, there was a slight flash of anger on his face. Master Earthly, I will kill you myself. No matter what the dream of parting, even Jun Haoyan and others think, Yi Hongchen is destined to not know. At this moment, he just felt his head dizzy and couldn't help closing his eyes. When I opened my eyes again, the scene in front of me had completely changed. It was originally in the air, surrounded by white clouds, and even the scenery below was a bit charming. Although there was an old man who wanted to kill him, Yi Hongchen didn't think much. However, the scenery now makes Yi Hongchen's eyes shrink involuntarily. It's all crystals. It looks like some light blue crystals there shining, and they can even reflect some scenes like mirrors. What surprised Yi Hongchen even more was that he was sitting in a luxurious chair. I don't know what material it is made of, but there's a black dragon head on both sides. The sculpture is lifelike, and it looks like alive. Where am I? Yi Hongchen couldn't help muttering with some doubts when he saw it. Shouldn't he still be fighting Jun Haoyan? Moreover, he was stabbed in the arm by Jun Haoyan's smashing shot. Thinking of this, Yi Hongchen couldn't help but look at his right hand subconsciously. The white right arm was extremely smooth, and even the muscles showed only stripes, which seemed to have a strange beauty. This is not his hand. Seeing this, Yi Hongchen felt as if a stormy sea was being rolled up in his heart, but he literally stopped the urge to speak. With a glance from the corner of his eye, he suddenly saw a huge blue crystal beside him, and a person was reflected in it. A long silver hair was randomly scattered on the shoulders. As if it had been used softly, it looked extremely supple. A white face like jade, exquisite, looks extraordinary, and a pair of black eyes exudes a feeling of letting me go. Adding a domineering look to this handsome-looking man, there are two black dragon heads behind him, and the neck is long, like a snake's body. A black robe is the opposite of his white hair, but it doesn't match up with him. Chapter 0081. Become the Lord of the Gods. The person in the crystal sits on a black chair like ink, with a black dragon head on both sides, and even the center chair has a dragon head. Seeing this, Yi Hongchen couldn't help but stretched out his hand and placed down the dragon head beside him. The person in the crystal also followed Yi Hongchen to make the same action. Is that so? I've become someone else. Yi Hongchen stretched out his hand and placed it in front of him, clenching slightly into a fist. Call. The next moment, something horrified Yi Hongchen happened. When he clenched his hand into a fist, a terrifying force burst out of his hand in an instant. The crystal that looked like some blue at this moment actually became colorless, and even the inside of the crystal was broken, as if it had been subjected to a terrible attack. Da-da-da. At this moment, a tall woman wearing purple and black, similar to a Chong Sam, suddenly appeared in front of Yi Hongchen. God, what's the matter with you? Why are you angry? The tall woman is very beautiful, and her whole body exudes a sense of charm. The figure is also very hot, but it looks like Yi Hongchen, a vicious feeling. God, Yi Hongchen couldn't help being stunned when he heard the tall woman's words, and what followed was the words of the clock-in system. Wu Gengji. So, did he come to the Wu Gengji and has also become the most powerful boss in it? In this way, he is the sky. So this tall woman is naturally the heart and moon fox, the high priest of the Protoss. Wu Gengji. There are Protoss, humans, and Underworld, among which Protoss is the most powerful, followed by Underworld, and humans are only worthy of the gods as slaves. And heaven is the lord of the Protoss. Thinking of this, Yi Hongchen shook his head slightly and said coldly, "It's okay." When Xin Yuekui heard Yi Hongchen's words, she breathed a sigh of relief. Just now, she actually felt a force that suffocated her, thinking that the sky was upset. As for why she was angry, she didn't know and would never want to know. Hey, Chaga City is coming soon, and then I will see if what I predicted is true. Xin Yuekui Fox bowed slightly towards Yi Hongchen and said, as Yi Hongchen, who has lived on the earth, he naturally knows what Xin Yuekui Fox is talking about. It is nothing more than the fall of the gods, and the cause of all this is the strong human race that the Protoss has always looked down on. Yeah, Yi Hongchen continued to say coldly, waved casually, indicating that Xin Yuekui Fox could retreat. After Xin Yuekui retreated, Yi Hongchen became silent again, sinking his heart and feeling the difference in his body. However, it doesn't matter if you don't feel it. This exploration almost made Yi Hongchen suffocate. Too strong. This power, it seems that he only needs to wave his hand, and his previous cultivation base of the mid-level golden core holding pill realm, like his kind of golden core, will be wiped out in an instant. Is the colorless realm divine power? In Yi Hongchen's body at this time, there was a gray-white power and a black power. He doesn't understand black, but gray and white, he understands naturally. Colorless power. That was a force that even King Zhou, with the blessing of Phoenix, could not break through. And at that time, the skies seemed to be used at will. Don't take it seriously. Otherwise, with the mortal body of King Zhou, even if there is a phoenix, it will not be possible to break the colorless wall of the sky. In the original book, even if the last three main protagonists all grow up, they still can't beat the sky. The sky is just a serious injury, and he falls asleep again. From this we can see how powerful his strength is. Ding, trigger a hidden mission. Kill at least 2 protagonists within 1 month and capture a tentative heroine. Chapter 0082. You are the king of Shangzhou. Ding, trigger a hidden mission. Kill at least 2 protagonists within 1 month and capture a tentative heroine. Mission success reward. Retain 30% of the cultivation base and return to the main world. Just when Yi Hongchen was thinking about something, a cold electronic sound suddenly rang in his mind. Hidden mission? What is the 30% cultivation level? Yi Hongchen looked at his hand, slightly expecting. Call. Yi Hongchen used a little power at will, and his whole person instantly came to the front place, where there were huge white stones, which seemed to be in the shape of teeth. When Yi Hongchen came here, the named area in front of him slowly opened. Upon seeing this, Yi Hongchen moved his feet and flew out from here. After he flew out, he realized that the place where he was originally was in the body of a black dragon. The cultivation base of this black dragon is not low. Yi Hongchen looked at the black dragon, secretly frightened. However, the black dragon at this moment, with a pair of eyes larger than a lantern, looked at Yi Hongchen's eyes, full of meekness. His eyes rolled, and he immediately moved to the ground. Some people were killed there. A white-haired man seemed to have some special cultivation method. He could summon a golden sword at will. Great Sword Master, Ziyu. At this moment, Ziyu was fighting a man with full body armor and purple lines on the armor. Ten Xing. Hey, Great Sword Master, what's the matter with you? Don't let others disturb us. The supernatural power of the Shura realm. Seeing that Ziyu had been watching Yi Hongchen after Yi Hongchen came out, Shixing suddenly said with some dissatisfaction. When the words fell, the armor lines on Shixing's body were all wiped away with purple light. Boom! The next moment, Shixing moved his feet and immediately stomped on the ground. The whole person was like a fierce wolf, and he caught Ziyu all at once. Boom! Shixing and Ziyu slammed into the city wall, and the broken stones immediately buried both of them. Above the sky, it seems that he is King Shangzhou. Yi Hongchen secretly said in his heart as he looked at a tall and mighty man below. At this moment, the tall and mighty man holds 2 swords, and a pair of blood-red wings grow behind him like magma. A strong oppressive force was exuding from all over his body, and a Protoss man was violently abused in front of him. Ghostwood, sky. At this time, a voice came from behind Yi Hongchen, causing Yi Hongchen to turn his head slightly. Xin Yuekui and several great gods stood on the body of the black dragon. Looking at Yi Hongchen, all of them had a look of fear in their eyes. God, always moody. Yi Hongchen nodded slightly, moved his feet, and immediately landed on the ground. A huge force instantly appeared from Yi Hongchen's body. The surrounding scenes that had been raging for a while turned into grayish-white at this moment. Everyone in the gray-white scenery has been subjected to strong coercion and pressure, including the gods. All the divine power in the body was used at this moment to resist Yi Hongchen's colorless realm divine power. Damn, this is the Lord of the Gods. Heaven. King Zhou was so crushed by Yi Hongchen's colorless divine power. He knelt on one knee at the moment, watching Yi Hongchen mutter. Yi Hongchen felt this power and wanted to vent it loudly. This solo power is really enjoyable. In the next second, Yi Hongchen...
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, The site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.